And welcome back to Bars Loaded Podcast with Ben and Nick.
Oh,
I went to my first footy game yesterday, which is why I was pretty quiet on Instagram.
and ignoring me and not giving me enough attention.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be feeling like that because I felt like that when you were at those comps.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Hey, heads up, bro! Just the reason I'm not responding, or if I'm a little bit late, is we had 3 games pretty much back to back."
Gross.
But I got home and I said to Em, I really love being around footy again. And I had a ton of fun. And I said, the thing that stood out to me the most about being at a day of footy as opposed to a day of powerlifting? She was like, what? And I was like, I don't think I saw one autistic person.
Oh, no, it would have just been a different kind of tism.
Yeah, I don't know. They all seem pretty normal. It's really weird.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the powerlifting scene is full of autism. Like, if you don't have autism when you go to one, you'll have one when you leave it.
Yeah, but you feel very left out.
Yeah, I also feel like if you went to a footy, if you went to a day of footy, I feel like you would have just a different color of the spectrum, spectrum rub off on you.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
But it was a big day. I'm a little bit pink. I don't know if you noticed, but
I did.
got a little bit of color about me.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite warm. We're at the bay, so we're at Nelson's Bay for the day, and I reapplied. So I put sunscreen on before I left the house. I reapplied twice.
Pussy.
But I didn't put it on my legs.
How bad are your legs?
Believe it or not, it's only my calves.
So a really small section of the body.
Yeah. I said, when I woke up this morning, I showed him, I was like, how the fuck did my calves get sunburnt? I thought that they're so slim. I thought they would cut through the rays. But some of the rays caught the calf and they're quite burnt, but everywhere else is pretty good.
Okay. It's not too bad.
I didn't wear a hat. So I had the
dome out.
The dome out, just catching rays.
Love it.
It's a good day.
You're just a big old solar panel, aren't you?
Just a big old solar panel. I was trying, snuck around the back, got a little bit of arsehole sun going on just to catch some energy.
That's how you maximize health and performance. You got to sun the anus.
Have you seen that?
Yes. Well,
Have you tried it?
Not firsthand.
I know you spend a fair bit of time in parks doing real hippie type shit. Has this been one of the endeavors that you've undertaken?
Not yet.
I feel like we need to get Ben onto this. Let us know in the comments. If we get more than 0 votes, Ben will start his ass.
But I will not film it. You'll just have to take my word. I'll come in for the follow-up podcast. I'll be glowing. You'll be like, Ben, you look fantastic today. What have you done? I'll be like, Nick, I sunned my asshole, and my God, I'll tell you what. Go outside right now and stick your anus to the sun.
Do you think that those people are actually taking the piss? Or do you think they truly believe that?
I think the ones that actually post about it genuinely believe that sunning your asshole will yield net positive health benefits.
What do you think the benefits are?
I don't know. Because could you imagine if someone was like, I'm going to go out and sun my asshole, and they're like, for example, if a guy was lying on his back, legs up by his side, asshole up towards the sun. Imagine if he stayed there long enough where he burnt his asshole and burnt his ball sack.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel good.
No, that would be horrible.
So I'm thinking from a confidence standpoint,
and
maybe
I'm literally going to Google health benefits of sunning your asshole.
Yeah, Google the actual tangible evidence. But I'm thinking more so from a point of as you get older and you just reach new levels of don't give a fuck, and you kind of move with a little bit more swagger. You make decisions quicker. You cut people off quicker. You generally just feel better about life because you don't really give a fuck what people think anymore. I'm just wondering if the actual act of sun on your asshole doesn't give any actual tangible health benefits beyond just like sun on your face, but maybe the act of like laying down naked, spreading your legs, pointing your ass to the sun and laying there, maybe that just, when you get up, you're just like, dude, no one can fuck with me after that. Like, nothing that anyone does can make me feel like more of a fuckwit than that just did, so I'm unfuckwithable.
So, to be fair, this is like an article from Healthline, so I like take it with a grain of salt. But it says, you know, this area hosts, like, so they're obviously talking about like the perineum, so like the space between like your balls and asshole, or like, the gooch. This area hosts our blood vessels and nerves that provide sensation and nutrition to the genitals. You know, apparently it's derived from an ancient Taoist practice. So if you plan on trying it, here are a few things you need to know. It involves exposing your backside to the sun for a short period of time. Some people lower their blah, 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 blah. So, sorry, here we go. According to the people who practice it, the point of this routine is to give your body an intense dose of vitamin D. The purported benefits, the main one is apparently an energy boost. In a mere 30 seconds of sunlight on your butthole, you'll receive more energy than you would in an entire day being outside with your clothes on.
I don't know about
that. Other perineum sunning enthusiasts say it can stop chi or life force energy leaking from the body, inviting prana or solar energy into the body instead. This is said to result. Yep, this is said to result in a number of things, including improved sleep and concentration and increased creativity. Some even say they have a healthier libido, as the technique is said to regulate hormone function in sex organs. Is there any research to support this? Not at all.
No, I guess it'd probably be a pretty hard thing to research.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like butt sunners are not really the type of people that are going to sign up for scientific research studies.
Probably not.
I feel like they're probably fairly anti-study.
Yeah, probably. So then it goes down to like, what are the potential risks?
Does it give an age bracket on like the general age bracket that most popular people that kind of undertake this practice? This sounds like a boomer thing.
I mean, like there's sections where it's like, you know, what are the risks? If you decide to try it, is there anything you can do to minimize your overall risk? Is there anyone who should never try this? What can you do instead? And then it's got a few bits and pieces.
Who does it say never try it? Like our binos?
So it's not recommended for people who have genital HPV. People with lighter skin or family history of skin cancer are particularly at risk. I
reckon magpie season would be a brutal time to try this too. That should be in the risk section. Wildlife.
I think as well for any of our non-Australian listeners, if you're doing it in any areas that are prone to drop bear attacks, I think that's also probably pretty risky business.
Yeah, drop bears love a butthole.
Yeah, they go down with the fingers. They could drop out of the tree like little tree ninjas.
Yeah, I don't think they have fingers, do they? They have they just have straight claws.
Well, as in like the claws would be like Wolverine. For anyone who's like just listening, there's like a intense fingers. Penetrating motion. Fuck.
Unbelievable.
We're off to a great start, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome back to Bars Loaded with Ben and Nick, your butthole sunning research enthusiasts.
Not only do you learn about like all things strength and conditioning, you also learn about different types of autism at different sporting events, as well as Butthole sunning.
All the important things in life.
What more could anyone need?
I can see where the increased libido comes from, though, if I'm honest. Because, like, if I made the decision to go outside, get naked, and point my ass to the sun, I'm getting up from that, and I'm just like,
ready to fuck.
I'm ready, and none of you can say no to this. Like, just think of the energy that you would like. Not energy as in like vitamin D on my butt energy, but the like. I just did the most stupidest fucking thing on the planet. Nothing that I do from this point forward is worse, and you all know that I did it. So clearly, you know that I'm a fucking bad guy.
But my question is, did you just warm up your butthole to receive a different kind of dose of vitamin D, or?
Hey, all I said was I'm down. I didn't. I said I'd have the energy. I didn't say for what.
Good.
But no, footy was really good on Sunday, man. I had a really good time.
It's good.
We got there. There we had the 17s and the reserve grade and the first grade teams playing in trial matches.
Yep.
So I got there early and ran the functional warm up for the 17s. And then I kind of like helped out on the sidelines with them, made sure all the water bottles were full when they needed to be full, and like kind of ran the guys on the bench through some functional stuff up and down the sidelines before they were going to go on. So the coach would give me like a 5-minute heads up, and I'd grab a couple of the guys that were about to go on and take them up the sideline and do a little bit of work with them. So that was pretty fun. And then while I was doing that, the guy that I kind of work underneath, he took the reserve grade guys out the back, did their warm up, and then he came out and ran blue shirt for them, which is like the head water runner guy that runs messages. With the blue shirt, you can go on the field more times than if you have like the yellow or the orange shirt. So they're color coded based on your role, and so with the blue shirt, you can go on and off the field a lot more. So the coach uses the blue shirt guys to run messages to the guys on the field. So he was doing that all game. So I was on the sideline with the Reggie's guys again, just doing the water bottles and then running the functional warm-ups for them. And then just before the end of that game, I ran out the back and ran the functional warm-ups for the first grade side as well, which was really cool.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've got to work with those boys.
Nice.
Which is cool because Harley was obviously had to be on the sideline for the game. So he sent me out there and I got to do that, which was fucking awesome, man. I had heaps of fun. But it was a big day.
Yeah.
I mean, I got there at 9:30 and I left. I jumped in my car to drive home from the bay at 4:30.
Fuck, that is a big day.
Yeah, and it's about a 45-minute to an hour drive home. So I left home at 8 and then got home about 5:30.
It's a big day.
Pretty much like a powerlifting meet, but standing in the sun and running around.
Yeah.
I did 26,000 steps.
Watch out, bikini pros.
Yeah. And a good portion of those steps were actually jogging.
Nice.
Yeah. So from someone, I mean, Ben's like, I used to do that every day. I averaged 2,500 a day on a big day. That includes my training sessions.
Surely not.
Mm-hmm.
How?
On a day that I train, I do about 2,500 steps. On a day that I don't train and don't have face-to-face clients, a lot of the time I'll do under 1,000.
How?
Efficient.
Lack thereof.
No, that's efficiency, bro. That's basically a Prius. Think, think about my miles per gallon. It's low. Why? Why are you shaking your head? Can you really not believe that? Knowing me?
No, I can, but that's like, I thought it at least would have been a little bit higher.
So think about what I would do on a day where I don't train and I don't have face-to-face clients. I'll wake up. I'll walk from the bedroom to the toilet. I'll usually have a shower while I'm there because it's right next to each other. So I just get it done so I don't have to walk back and forth. On my way past the bedroom, I'll grab some clothes, throw them into the bathroom so I don't have to walk back to my bedroom to get dressed. So then I get out of the shower, put my clothes on, walk to the kitchen, make a coffee, walk to my office, start work. Em will usually bring me food, like sporadically throughout the day. I'll get up to pee or to make another coffee. And then I usually get up and the last time that I get up, I usually get up, go to the bathroom, have a shower, go to the lounge room, and brings dinner in. And then from the lounge room, when the day's over, I usually get up, I'll go do the dishes, I'll go to bed. That's it.
Dude, we're gonna buy you one of those like standing desks with like a treadmill in it.
I thought you were going to say we need to buy you a coffee machine for your desk so you don't have to get up at all.
Fuck no. If anything, I'd like get rid of your fucking coffee machine so you actually have to go out of the house to get a coffee.
I'm all for efficiency.
Let's go with that.
Like, what do you do on days now that you're a little bit more based at a desk than what you were previously? What would you say your average steps would be?
Still like a minimum of like 6,000.
What are you, walking circles?
No, but like for me, like,
you take the dog. You take Mav for a walk.
Yeah, so Mav gets his walk, but then also like if I've spent like 2 hours at my desk, like, I have to like get up and like walk around a little bit because otherwise like my back and hips get really fucking sore.
Gotcha.
Like it literally might be like go outside if it's a sunny day, like I might sun my bum hole for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Do you put your watch on your ankles when you're doing that so it counts as movement?
So I don't have like a smartwatch. I just have my phone in my pocket like all fucking day. But I am wanting to go out and get a like I don't think I want an Apple Watch. I just think I want like a something else that kind of looks a little bit
cool,
casual, as well as like I don't want to be that guy who like goes out and it's like, oh, look at me, my fucking Apple Watch in my fucking nice clothes. Like I want it to. You've seen my black watch. Yeah, I know, but that's why I don't want to do
it. Just get a leather strap for it.
No, have you seen like my black Fossil watch?
Mm-hmm.
I want something like that, but not like an actual like what. Like I wanted like a smartwatch.
You can get them.
I know, but I don't want to have to pay like $1 million for one. Yeah,
they are quite expensive because they look nice.
Yeah, like I've just like I think once we're sort of at a point where like playing with a little bit more disposable cash, I think where I will go is first and foremost a phone upgrade.
Vegas. Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Well, like obviously, like I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to win millions of dollars. The casino's going to ban me because of how much I just take them to the bloody, I'm just going to take them for all they got.
You have a cat card.
It's just, yep. It's funny. I watched The Hangover last night.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen that.
Oh, dude, I'm not even going to be able to use my the line from that.
You can use it. I just won't understand it. Everyone else will.
Yes. No. Your homework between now and next week's episode is to go and watch the Hangover.
Is it funny though, or is it just silly? Because I don't really like silly comedies. I get frustrated at them.
It's a little bit silly, but it's kind of like, imagine like 4 guys going to Vegas, getting really fucked up. Did you see like Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did. At the time, I really liked it. I probably still like it now. That's a pretty funny movie.
So I kind of like in The Hangover, it's been like a more adult version of Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah, okay.
Like those, they wake up and they're like, fuck, like, where's the car, dude? And they spend all fucking the whole movie trying to find out where the fuck they parked their car, and it's all the trials and tribulations along the thing. In The Hangover, it's literally waking up and going, we're trying to figure out like what the fuck happened last night, so we can figure out X, Y, and Z.
Gotcha.
Same thing. It's literally just like plug and play in a different setting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might like it then.
Yeah. Give it a go. Worst case scenario is you're like, I don't like it, and you turn it off.
I don't know. I don't turn off movies. Once I commit, I see it through.
So have you seen Dune 2 yet?
No, I'm not allowed to.
Why?
Well, because it's at the movies. I'm not allowed to go see it at the movie. I'm not going to go alone, and Em doesn't want to
Why
see it
not?
because she didn't like the first one. She said it was boring.
The second one is like, I loved the first one. Like I've seen it like fucking like a lot of times. I thought the second one was significantly better. I feel like the first one set a lot of foundation work for the second one. The second one is like jam packed with action.
She doesn't like sci-fi type movies. That's why she said it. That's why she didn't like it. Because it's just like she just doesn't like it. She just sits there the whole time and is like, "That's so unrealistic." Like, well, yeah, that's the whole point. It's not meant to be real.
Movie.
It's meant to be unrealistic.
Science fiction. It's not real.
But we did watch Oppenheimer. I loved that.
I went and saw that at the movies. It was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I really thought that was a great movie. It was actually significantly better than I expected it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because that came out at the same time that like Barbie did, and I still haven't seen the Barbie movie.
No, it came out the same day, and I wanted to see Oppenheimer. We just never got around to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I saw it was on Netflix, I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is great!" And that main actor, who won Best Actor for that role, he was fantastic in that.
He's a brilliant actor.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Which was cool. So yeah, we watched that on. We actually watched it over 2 nights, half on Friday and half on Saturday. It's quite long.
Yeah, so I can't do that with movies. Like, if I'm going to watch something, I'm like, I have to, like, if it's a free, I think it was what? There was fuck, I'm going blank on what it was called. It was another, like, gangster movie that got released.
Titanic.
Like, that's the exact one, yeah. But no, it had, like, Robert De Niro, and, like, it was pretty much like the Goodfellas.
Oh, yes, I know the one. Yeah, I know the one. But he was a truck driver, and the guy fixed his truck.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like a 3.5 hour long movie. Like when that first came out on Netflix, I was like, because that was like during lockdowns here in Victoria. I'm like, oh fuck! I'm like 3.5 hours. Like that's a long stint. I'm like, I'm gonna do like an intermission in the middle of it for like 10 minutes, so I can go to the toilet, make another coffee, and like probably like pour another whiskey and like chill in.
Yeah.
But like did that in like essentially like one sitting. And then when they released the Snyder cut of Justice League, that was like a 4-hour movie. I did that in one sitting as well.
Whew. Did you ever have movie marathons when you were at high school?
All the fucking time.
I used to do those. All the time.
Yeah. Did you ever go to the ones like the cinemas?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not at home. Jesus. Dude,
I would do them at home as well. I would have mates that would come over on the weekend. Sleepovers? You fucking oath I did.
Of course you did. Was that at home or in the park?
Oh, it was at home, but I lived out in like the bush at the time, so it was kind of like the same thing.
Of course you did.
But like I remember like when I was younger, like my brother went overseas one year and his mates came around one weekend, just like come over, like we'd just like fucking like hang out, watch movies, talk shit. But we would do like it'd just be like, we'd go, like, this weekend we're doing like action movies, and every single person had to put in like one movie that they wanted.
Mm.
So if there were like 6 of us, we'd start at like, 5, 6 p.m. on like the Saturday night, and we'd finish at like 6, 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then like go do Sunday as normal, go to sleep on Sunday night, go to school on Monday.
That's wild. I never did. I went to the ones at the movies where they'd have like 3 or 4 movies back to back, and you'd go in your pajamas and take blankets and pillows and snacks and stuff and just hang out with your mates in the movie theater. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did that a couple of times. It was good fun.
Yeah, they had those down here. I never did it at home though. Bro, at that age, I would have just picked a surfing movie. But that's all I watched was, I had 2 that were my favorite, Montage and the Occumentary, which were, one was about Taj Baro, the surfer from WA, and the other one was on Pocky, the Australian surfer from Sydney.
Yeah.
And I watched those 2 surfing videos, or I watched like Rip Curl the Search videos, which were surfing videos, or I watched Krusty Demon's motorbike videos. That was
nice.
It. That's all I watched.
Good.
Would have been.
Whereas like
that would have been my selections.
So it's funny, like my sister still brings this up, like when we're sort of like talking about movies. There was one night, like my folks went out and we were staying at one of my brother's mate's place for the night, and it was like me, my brother, his mate, and like my sister, and we were just like watching movies. And I mean, like, I reckon I probably would have been maybe 11 or 12 at the time. I think I was 11. I was in grade 5. They were in grade 6. So my sister only would have been like 5 or something like that. And we're like, oh, we're going to watch Blade.
Mm.
And my sister's like, oh, like, I think this might be like a bit too violent for me. Like, no, like, it's fine. We'll just tell you like when you need to close your eyes, when like the scary part's coming up. We didn't make her close her eyes. We just made her watch the whole thing. It probably says a lot about my sister. Yeah, she did, but that's still something like to this day. Like she'll be what, 28 this year or something like that. And she still brings up, she's like, I still remember when I was a kid and you guys made me watch Blade and you didn't make me cover my eyes for the scary parts, and now I am the way that I am.
What is she, a vampire?
Oh, she's just a bit weird.
She's just a bit weird.
I mean, to be fair though, she is related to me though, so
yeah,
you can't really blame
her. How was your weekend? What did you get up to?
I had a comp on Saturday that I handled at, which was always a good time. And then on Sunday, I trained and just did some work and all that sort of stuff. So it was pretty cruisy.
Yeah, nice. What did you train on Sunday?
I had my disgustingly challenging lower body session. So it's front squats into RDLs into like a lot of core work. So it was 3x4 front squats at 125. So like not crazy heavy, but still enough to get things churning and tick along in the right direction. And then the RDLs was 2x10 at 180, and that was a bit gross.
Yeah.
And then all the core work that I had was like hanging leg raises, single arm farmer carries, and like kettlebell pull throughs.
Nice. I love a good kettlebell pull through.
I'm so sore today, dude.
I bet.
Like real sore.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's a lot in one session. Have you been doing a bunch of core work like that? I know you've sprinkled in a little bit here and there, but that's a lot to throw into one session.
I'm trying to, so I feel like there's a big disconnect when I do all my lower body stuff at the moment between like my ability to like hold a really effective brace. So I'm just like, well, fuck it. Like, why don't I do things that's going to help me be better there and actually train my core in a way that's meaningful and has relative carryover to actually feeling and understanding where my brace is based on an ability to contract musculature.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, on my lower body days, I'm throwing in a lot of like core stuff like that, and then on my upper body days, it's a lot of like rib cage rotation work.
Beautiful.
It's disgusting, but it's delightful.
Have you been doing that for just 1 week or multiple weeks?
It's been like 2 weeks now.
Cool. I'll be keen to see how that plays out in a few more weeks. Because
I think
last week you said your squats really started to feel nice, so that would have been after
the start of it.
Yeah, the start of it.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see if that continues to happen the more you do it.
Yeah, like I think the big thing is, I think obviously working with weights for squats in particular, where it's not unbearably challenging. It's like cool, like there's enough load that I get some feedback, and then paired with the core stuff, I feel like I can get to a point where load starts creeping up, sort of like towards that 200 kilo mark again, and I'm able to move significantly better than I have previously, then it was like, all right, cool, like things have been working really well, but I'm also putting a really big emphasis on like pelvic position within my squat and really trying to hold it throughout the pattern. Which even with like a 5 kilo increase from week 1 to week 2, I'm like, oh, like that 5 kilos is challenging.
Yep.
But I'm very curious to see how it unfolds in the next couple of weeks.
Me too. Keep us posted.
Certainly will.
Did you get up to anything else?
I think Friday night was pretty chilled. Yeah, like just same old, really. Like
anything cool? Out. Anything cool happen last week?
I'm going to be old school, and I'm going to confer with my handwritten diary that I know you make fun of
writing.
me.
You got some writing on some pages.
I'm a fucking whore for a good like to-do list. So when I go into something and I can tick things off, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like I'm getting so much shit done today.
I know I make fun of you for it, but I do the exact same thing. I've got a notebook under my laptop right now.
Yeah. Like last week was good. Like I had a bunch of consults. I had a couple of new clients start last week. And when I say like a couple of clients, I mean like 2, not like some people post on Instagram that they've had 9. But no, it was good. Like I had a lady travel 2 hours to come and see me
nice.
for a consult, which was pretty cool. Yep. I sent her a recap on our session, and she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like, I also listened to the podcast, and you guys are really funny to listen to. So hopefully she hears this."
Shout out!
She was
she
was a really interesting sort of case study to work with. So
did she say I was funny or just you?
Just me. She was like, "That Nick guy's just weird as fuck."
Damn it, she knows me already. How does she know me so well?
Oh, your personality comes through in shining lights on this platform.
Shines through the digital space well.
That's it.
Perfect.
But no, she was really interesting. So she's got like severe arthritis in one knee. She's got like cysts in around the knee. There's like a bunch of shit. Yeah, well, there's like a bunch of stuff going on around the knee, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, you know, because like I put up a story about like being able to like train pain free, and she's like, oh look, you know, even with like severe arthritis and all these other bits and pieces, I'm like, oh, like without like seeing you move, it's like it's pretty hard to say. So I was like, one assessment I'll start with is just like taking her knee through like flexion, just sort of seeing how much like passive range she's actually got access to, and it was fuck all. I just like locked up really badly on her, and she's like winced, and I'm like, we don't like that. And she's like, yeah, like it just like when it locks up, it just takes a little while for it to sort of like settle down. I'm like, okay, cool. We went through some stuff. Like squat patterns are shocking for her at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, thankfully, we were sort of able to come up with a bit of an action plan moving forward for her in terms of like limiting degrees of knee flexion and like forward knee travel, and like, you know, like taking her through like high box squats, but like with a really vertical shin angle and barely bending at the knee, so like sitting the hips back heaps. Even trying to just introduce like really low barrier, like knee flexion stuff with like a Peterson step up or something like that with like really limited range. That was just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a few things in place that hopefully will sort of yield a nice positive result for her. But I'll be interested to follow up with her in like a week or so and just sort of see where she's at and how she's gone with it all.
Yeah, I'd be keen to follow along that journey too. Obviously, with the knee arthritis issues that I've been dealing with, and probably a lot of the same things that you guys are going to run into.
Yeah.
There is light at the end of the tunnel, though, as you know. You've kind of been along the journey with me the whole way, and you and I have bounced a lot of ideas off each other on how to get my knee back to where it is now from quite literally not being able to walk.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've told you this, man, but I told Em the other day for the first time that when it was like really bad post nationals, when how I legit couldn't walk, I had to borrow some crutches, and I like proper couldn't walk, because I just couldn't put any weight on it. It was locked up all the time. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but it was like excruciatingly painful to put weight on my leg. It was worse in the middle of the night.
Yep.
When I'd get up to pee. One, because I think I wasn't used to the pain, like it hadn't built up throughout the day, and I'd just kind of gotten a bit used to it. It was like fresh. I'd been laying down. Everything was a bit stiffer than what it had been if I was moving around. And two, I was half asleep, so I wasn't ready to be in pain yet. I nearly ate shit like 2 or 3 times trying to hobble down the hallway to take a piss in the middle of the night. So I ended up coming to bed with a 2-liter bottle of water empty next to my bed so I could piss into it.
You have told me that, yeah.
Yeah, and was like, "What the hell, dude? You didn't tell me that. You crazy? Like that's what old men do." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it was that bad." She didn't realize it was that bad, so yeah, I can definitely sympathize with someone else who's going through that, because it's fuck, man, it can be so painful. It's shit.
Yeah.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's it. So, like, I'll probably follow up with her in the next couple of days or so, because that'll be a week or so after that. And then it was just pretty much more of the same old stuff. Like, just trying to get business moving in the right direction again, and just trying to really solidify and double down on a few bits and pieces. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, cool. That's exciting.
How about yours?
Yeah, my week last week was pretty good. Highlight would have been doing a seminar over at Exceed Health.
Yep.
Shout out Exceed Health. Got the Dragon Ball Z shirt on today.
I'd say fucking awesome design.
How good is it? It's actually one of my favorite shirts I own. So yeah, shout out Exceed Health. Em and I went over there Wednesday afternoon and did a seminar for their in-house staff training day that they have.
Yep.
And talked about performance nutrition, and as it relates to just performance nutrition in general for athletes. And then she also did a whole section just for them on nutrition in relation to injuries, and then the research around like collagen for repairing injuries, collagen as part of a nutrition protocol, and then also just like general nutrition to aid in recovery and how you would like manipulate your nutrition to help with that as well, which was super interesting. It's like the first time I've actually sat through one of her nutrition seminars, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
really cool, man. I'm excited for you to kind of listen in a little bit during the Bars Loaded seminar that we have coming up, because it's fucking, dude, I really found it quite fascinating.
I'm really looking forward to it. Like, obviously, like I watch and listen to a lot of the stuff that she does put on Instagram, but I'm sort of looking forward to it being a little bit more nuanced.
Well, it's hard with social media, as you know. It's like, what can I say to get someone's attention in 5 to 30 seconds?
Yeah.
And then put a limited amount of information in the caption with the limited amount of characters that you have that could actually give some value and provide some sort of context. It's really fucking hard to do, and I feel like she does a pretty good job at it. But when you have a decent block of time where you can actually communicate the topic well, it's a whole different story. So that was really fun. And then Lockie, one of the owners of Exceed, he's who I booked it through, and he mentioned that he's currently building a full day seminar on shoulder health for like strength athletes and some common injuries in regards to bench pressing, and then what they can do from a physio / massage therapist standpoint to help alleviate some of those injuries and get people back into the gym. So I kind of pre-framed that full day seminar with a bench press technique seminar.
Yep.
It's how I teach the bench press, how that looks from a muscular standpoint, a biomechanical standpoint. We did about an hour presentation and then about 30 minutes practical work. Got them on the bench, got them to feel what it feels like to bench press like a powerlifter. So then when they go into that next seminar, they have a little bit better of a framework to build out in terms of like what's happening during a powerlifting bench press, I guess.
Yeah.
So they can start to see how those injuries occur.
Well, hopefully don't occur.
Yeah. Well, we kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of it could be avoided with some good programming and moving a little bit better.
Yeah.
But a lot of the common injuries that do occur and just kind of get put down to it's just part of powerlifting don't necessarily have to be part of powerlifting if you have a proper program and you kind of just do things properly.
I feel like when people do the whole like, oh, it's just part of powerlifting, I'm like, that's just because you're fucking lazy and you're not actually identifying the root causes of why shit's going. Like when people get to the end of a peak and they're like, oh, my body's absolutely broken, I'm cooked. Like, oh, but that's just part of a peak. It's like, no, that's because you don't know how to manage volume and intensity.
So you've done it wrong.
Yeah. Like,
and your program probably sucks.
Yeah, it's like you can actually get into comp feeling good and not like a steamy pile of shit. But
yeah,
that's a rant for another day.
Yeah, and that's something that we're definitely going to cover at the seminar.
Yep.
As part of the programming portion.
On the note of the seminar that we're running in what, like 4 weeks now, is it?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Yeah. What part of that are you most looking forward to teaching, and what part of that are you most looking forward to observing and / listening to?
That's a fantastic question. I'm really excited about talking about the warm-ups and kind of running people through what's a shit warm-up, what's a good warm-up, and why. Presenting and providing some better options for people.
Yeah,
which I think I'm really excited to do that. I know I'm really excited to do that. I think I'm most excited to talk about the programming, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that's really kind of um, for lack of a better term, lighting a fire in me at the moment. I'm really getting excited about talking to people about proper programming and what that should look like, why there's better options. And look, like we all know that there's a lot of different ways to write a program, and to some degree, all of it works. If you go from doing nothing to doing something, you're probably going to see a net positive result. But I also think that that's a pretty low level way of looking at things. And if you just say, well, it all works, yeah, true. Like every car drives, but we all can agree that you'd probably rather drive a Porsche than a fucking Prius, right? Or a fucking Corolla. So you can have a program that works and it be a Corolla, and that's going to get you to point A to point B better than walking. Yeah, that like, and if you say to some degree all programming works, yeah, it does. Just like all cars drive. But I know I'd much rather drive a Porsche than a Corolla. And I think some programs are Porsches and some programs are Corollas, and there's everything in between. So I'm really passionate lately about providing people better options within their programming and showing them that they can be strong and they can be strong pain-free and they can move better. And by moving better, they probably eliminate a lot of the warm-ups that they have to do because they're in less pain before they start. They're probably going to be stronger because they're not fighting against injuries and niggly feelings. And then they're going to get bigger, stronger. They're going to get better results. They're going to feel better. They're probably going to sleep better because they're not in pain. And overall, it's going to be a better outcome. So, and that all literally just comes down to program design. And execution. So I'm really excited about that. The part that I'm most excited about listening to, I'm really pumped and excited, and I probably like honored would probably be the better word to be presenting alongside both you and Anne on the same day. So I'm really keen to just kind of sit back, listen to you guys do your thing, probably like heckle you a little bit from the bleachers, just to make things fun.
Shut up, boomer.
Yeah. I'm just really excited to be there on the day with you guys and you know, watch the value that you guys provide as well.
Yeah, nice.
So, what about you?
I think I'm like, there's something I always like pull like just a stupid amount of enjoyment from it. It's always like teaching like the squat, bench, and deadlift. You know, like obviously there's common things that we see with powerlifters quite often. And there's always a couple of drills that I have with each of the lifts I really like to utilize as almost like a practical component. Like I get, you know, one person that comes up that supposedly has like a shitty lift, and it's like, all right, cool. Like I'm going to show you like a really easy screening movement to see if you can actually do this. In particular, I think as well when it comes to deadlifts, I love, like obviously with the history that I have with my back, to be able to teach people, it's like, oh, we can actually do this in a way that's safe, and we can do it in a way that you're not going to get hurt, despite what you've been told and what you've probably heard in magazines and on Instagram and all that sort of shit. You know, like the fact that people still demonize the big three, and they're like, oh, well, you know, squats are going to be bad for your knees, and bench is going to be, you know, shit for building, you know, upper body hypertrophy, and deadlifts are bad for your back. I'm like, the fact that there are clowns still out there pushing that kind of shit, I'm like, I will literally take you on head to head. I'll 1v1 you, and I will absolutely annihilate you, both like physically and intellectually, and I will make your ancestors weep for you. That's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm looking forward to being able to say, like, hey, this is how we can do these basic movements in a really safe fashion that are going to then set you up for like long-term progression.
Yeah.
And we don't have to exist in a bubble of fear around it.
Yeah,
like that's
one of the guys, Jake, Jacob that's coming to the seminar, he's my client who will be competing the week after that in GPC New South Wales States for his first ever sanctioned comp.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been coaching with me now for about 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to getting coached by me, he hadn't squatted in about 8 months because he's had multiple surgeries on both knees. Every time he squatted, he would have knee pain for days and days on end. He now squats twice a week, about 50 to 60 kilos heavier than he's ever squatted in his life, and he has absolutely zero knee pain.
Hey, Nick. You know, that could make some really good content.
And I'll put it up tonight.
Do it.
I'll put it up tonight. But yeah, so he'll be there, and he can attest to the fact that that's not the case. One of my other clients, who you know very well, didn't deadlift for a decent amount of years because his lower back hurt every single time he deadlifted.
Mm-hmm.
Now this week he's deadlifting 205 for his top single.
Nice.
At 90 kilos and with absolutely zero back pain. So if you do things properly, you don't have to be in pain.
Yeah. But I think this is the sort of the continuum that we kind of need to play around with. Is like, obviously with social media being what it is, we see some absolutely phenomenal feats of strength. Like John Hack pulled 420 at 90 something kilos body weight.
Yeah. It's John Hack.
So yeah, but like my point being, like even if you look at, I mean, shit, like what I've pulled 290 at 97.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's still a decent deadlift. Like it's sort of getting up there. What, just shy of triple body weight at almost 100 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get these, and like not there's anything wrong with being like beginner or like a non-competition client or anything like that, but you get people that go, oh well, I'm new to this, and my best deadlift is like, I've got guys I coach who are like 80 kilos, they're lawyers, and they deadlift like 120 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, it's heavy. It's like, yeah, it's still 1.5 times your body weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like powerlifting aside, like it's still strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like grand scheme of things, like, I mean, I remember back early in my career, there was a course I did where they kind of had like strength standards from like beginner to intermediate to advanced. And the advanced, so I think like beginner for men would have been like 1.2 times body weight squat, body weight bench, and like a 1.5 times body weight deadlift. I think intermediate was like 1.8 times body weight squat, like a 1.2 times 1.2 body weight bench, and like a 2 times body weight deadlift. And then the like advanced was like I think 2.2 times body weight squat, a 1.8 times or 1.6 or 1.7 times body weight bench, and like a 2.7 to 3 times body weight deadlift.
Nice.
I still really like those as strength standards, even for comp clients and for non-comp clients.
Yeah,
like
good
I
things to
quite like them.
Aim towards for sure.
Yeah, like I think if we've got like, again, like even for the guys that I coach who don't actively have any plans to compete, I'm like, I still have strength goals for them, because if we have something to work towards, then it makes training a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing that I dislike more than just going to the gym and
for the sake of it.
Yeah, even just look, I even had this conversation with a guy yesterday, Saturday, I think, on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like hypertrophy training. Hey, like hypertrophy training, like in the sense of like your typical like bro split bodybuilder style training. Like I just don't enjoy it. I just don't like it, man. I don't know.
No.
I just get bored so quick.
Mm.
Because to me, it's like coming from a sport background more so than a gym background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was an athlete before I was interested in the gym, and the gym was always a tool to support and further my athletic ability before it became, you know, the thing that I focused on. I still see it in a sense of like performance first, and aesthetics will follow. So whenever I pivot my training to try and focus on aesthetics, I'll have like 1 or 2 weeks where I'm like, oh, this is cool because it's novelty, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm really fucking bored now. Can I try and focus on something performance based? Like, I don't even give a fuck what it is, but I can't just keep trying to get a pump and then going to stare in the mirror because I'm getting really bored.
Yeah, I feel that as well.
By the time I get home, the pump's gone, and I'm like, well, what did I do? What was the point of that? If you could just keep up a pump forever.
Problem solved.
If that was the case, I'd just chase a pump every day. If the pump just like compounded.
Even if it only lasted like 24 hours, and it's just like cool, like every morning I go to the gym, I do, you know, what I need to get the pump, and then I'm done. I'm out. And it's like, cool, I've got that for the rest of the day. Of course. What else would you do? You wouldn't need to do anything else. Nah. It's like, give me 5 cock push-ups.
Yeah, and then the skinnier I got, the more it would be like, the more it would kind of look
girthy,
disproportioned, which is what we're all chasing.
Story of my life.
Disproportionate appendages.
Was that dick proportionate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice. Very nice.
I like. Like, oh, look at me, king of the castle, king of the castle.
Dick proportionate, I like.
High five.
In the mirror every day.
Yeah. It's like, yes.
At the gym in Speedos.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be Speedos. It'd have to be like the mankini that like comes up over the shoulders, like bright green. You'd be like, I like. Oh, geez, we're weird.
Autism's fantastic.
So,
I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the seminar. I'm excited to watch you guys present. I'm excited to present mostly on programming, but then also all of the other topics that we're going to be covering. And you know, the crazy thing about the little kind of seminar that I did at Exceed was, I got a message from them, you know, that afternoon, and they're like, "Oh, the staff, you know, really enjoyed that. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, guys, for coming out and doing that for us." And Lockie, who owns the gym, he's actually coming to the symposium.
Nice.
So he's bought tickets for that, and he'll be coming along to that. And he said, "Oh, he actually couldn't make it on Wednesday, but he said, you know, the staff loved it. They had really good feedback. I'm really excited to come and see you guys present at the symposium. I'm really, really looking forward to that." And I said, the crazy thing about that is that the guys said that they got a ton of value out of what Em and I presented to them on Wednesday. And I said that the craziest thing about this, dude, is that what we presented today is slated for about 15 to 30 minutes at the seminar. So if you think that there was value in that, just imagine another 6.5 hours, because that's literally half an hour of the seminar is that.
Yeah. You should try and get him to bring like the whole team from the gym.
From the physio. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Because if the whole team got a lot out of that little presentation you guys did, you may as well get them all to come along to this one as well.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'll reach out.
Cool.
Because
we could organise a little group discount for them.
Yeah,
just because we're good cunts like that.
I do a ton of work with Exceed.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're one of the better physio remedial massage organizations that I've ever been in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
He's a strength and conditioning coach, just not practicing anymore as he does remedial massage and owns that business. So he kind of has that background in S&C. He understands how the body moves athletically, not just on paper.
Yeah.
And what the demands of the sports are. But then he's always upskilling. He's always getting people in like us to do seminars like that, which I think is just so fantastic.
Really beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah. Too many places don't do that,
Yeah, because I think once they've done like a degree or they've done a certain amount of years, it's like, oh, well, I've done that now. Like, I don't have to continue building and growing. Like I look at people in the fitness industry, like how many people, 3 to 5 years in, they've done their Cert 4s, and it's like, oh yeah, but I've trained in the gym for ages. Like I know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, ugh. Like you don't though, because if you did, you would know that you know fuck all, and you would be going out and learning more.
Yeah.
And there's only so much. Cool. There's only so much shit you can read on like bodybuilding.com before you're like, maybe I should actually go and seek more.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I started the presentation on the day too. I was like, we all know that how the body works and acts in real life, in sport-specific scenarios, and how we're taught that it works on paper can be two very different things. So what I'm hoping to provide today is a little bit of real-world context to the injuries that you guys get presented with, and maybe kind of let you see in real life how they might be occurring from a poor exercise or poor programming standpoint, because not everything is 2D.
No.
Most things are not, actually.
Very much the case.
Especially when we look at exercise and exercise mechanics, it's very much like not 2D. It's more 4D than anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really interesting. And that's something that after doing that, after working with you on this strength symposium and kind of launching that, is something that I'm definitely pushing much harder into towards the back end of this year, is building out that side of NZ as much as possible.
Yeah, nice.
Pushing into the education / seminar space as hard as I can.
I think you guys would absolutely thrive in that space, given obviously you've got you from like a training perspective, then M with the nutrition side of things. I think it brings a really nice balance for pretty much like any gym, like specifically sort of like around Hunter and Newcastle, where like, even if it's just like a body fit or like is it air locker you guys have got up there?
Yep, we've got air lockers, we've got body fits, we've got like on every second corner there's a CrossFit or S&C or functional fitness type facility.
Yeah,
there's
like I think
quite literally hundreds of them here.
Yeah, so I think being able to go into those spaces and be like, hey, look, we can, provide the gym and your staff with a chance to do some upskilling. Obviously we talk about like S&C principles, we talk about nutrition principles, and we sort of like build that into a little presentation specific for like those little boutique gyms. It could be, it will be an area where you guys will absolutely dominate.
Yeah, that's kind of like the route that we're looking to go down. We are going to try and do a few more things like the seminar that we're doing, and we're going to look at doing a few more in different locations together as well. But targeting it towards the facilities themselves and the coaches within them is something that I'm currently working on. So if you work in a facility, keep your eyes peeled for that and hit your boss up.
Do it.
Yeah, the symposium, man. We've got. I think there's from memory. I know I threw up a post.
Story, yeah.
Was that yesterday that I did that?
It was either yesterday or the day before. It was over the weekend, yeah.
Yeah, it was over the weekend, saying that we had. I think it was 4 or 5 of the early bird tickets left.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of this recording, there's only 2 left. So
Yeah.
they will probably be gone by the time this recording airs. But if you really are wanting to come, and this conversation has swayed you more off the fence and more towards kind of jumping in and learning a little bit more about how you're squatting, benching, deadlifting, programming, and eating, and
Mm-hmm.
warming up, then send us a message, either Ben or I, and we might be able to give you a special bars loaded listener discount because we do appreciate everyone that listens.
We certainly do. And we always obviously want to look after the people that show us support. So if we can show some support, reciprocally, we will.
Reciprocally.
Me and my fancy words.
That is not a Bushman word.
Despite what you may think about me being a park-dwelling hippie.
Park dwelling, no, I think is probably.
Dude, if I had my beanie on today, you would have absolutely called me a gnome.
What's the story of the thing that lives under the bridge?
Trolls.
It's a troll. That's what you are. You're a park troll.
Nah, I'm not.
You're kind of grumpy like a troll.
Well, I'm too handsome to be a troll.
True, you are a handsome boy.
So, I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that would quite work. Unless it was kind of like, oh, yeah, like my dad was a troll and like mum was a princess passing through on like a fucking carriage and, lo and behold, here I am. Yeah, I'm a little bit insulted you would call me a troll. I don't spend my days on the internet being like, I'm going to fuck with these people.
Oh, sometimes you do.
Oh, sometimes.
Sometimes
okay, maybe I am a little bit of a troll.
Oh, speaking of trolls, how good is the PTC comment section?
Oh,
have you seen it recently?
I think one of the girls that competed on the Saturday shared something where it was like 1,200 comments on her bench press video.
Yeah, Aisha.
Was it Aisha?
Yeah. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. It's Brandon's client. She competed in sleeves.
So I'm just having a look. Is it on the Pro Raw Powerlifting page or is it on Marcos's page?
PTC.
PTC.
Yeah, he posts them on the PTC page, and he's been posting them and literally saying, I know people are going to get heaps butthurt about this, and then they still go in the comments.
So, for example, like Jen Smith's bench video where she benched 120 at Pro Raw 11, I think it was, has had 8,700 comments. The bench videos always get fucking smoked.
And people always just say decline. Nice decline.
It's like, cool, go do a decline bench press and get anywhere near it, you fucking dweeb.
It's so dumb.
Like, there's a video of Luke Polly benching 250 that's got like 370 plus comment. It's like, someone's commented being like, why people who can't even remotely deadlift 250 kilos are allowed to give an opinion on a 250 kilo bench press.
Valid.
Very valid. Like, the crazy thing is, like, Joe's video only got like 17 comments.
No one's game enough to go.
No, like, do you know who Lauren Gunn is?
Yeah, I do.
So her bench video has nearly 2,000 comments. Like, some people are like, yeah, bench just the bar with perfect form. It's more impressive. It's like, do it right. It'll be more impressive. Decline benching. This is great technique by the rules, but not the best measure of bench press strength. Learn how to bench press.
What do they
Wow,
think is
amazing.
right?
Powerlifting is brilliant. I love quarter reps. That's like Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. And I'm like, you guys are so fucking dumb. Like, she benched 107.5 at what, like, was she in the 82s?
She was, yeah, I think so.
But, like, that's a fucking strong bench.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just,
What
like,
what do
some
they
people
think
are like,
is
I don't,
right? Just
well,
laying
but
on the
this is the thing.
bench.
Someone's like, I don't understand how this has been decided as a competition technique. Every time I see it, my head says no rep. Still extra impressive, but still. And it's like, for example, you look at Victor Wemby in the NBA at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that motherfucker's 7'3". He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to jump to dunk.
Mm-mm.
Does that mean that if I ever played him in one-on-one, I should be like, hey, we need to like it's not fair because he's tall.
Mm.
It's like, who gives a shit? Like, there was the guy that competed on the Sunday in the Supers. He was from Sydney. I think his name was Andre or something like that, but he benched 255. And for a big guy, like, he arched pretty hard. I was like, you don't see big guys bench with that much of an arch usually.
Mm-hmm.
But people are still ripping him apart. I'm like, mate,
Was that at Pro Rock?
like, yeah.
Harley.
Was it Harley?
Yeah, Harley
Yeah.
Kebby.
That's that's the one.
Yeah.
I
competed against him.
Did you beat him?
No.
Why not?
Because he's fucking strong. I deadlifted more than him.
Good. But like, these people are commenting on shit that like, they've just got no idea about. And this is what kind of gives me the shits a little bit. Is like, I mean, there's obviously been a little bit of internet controversy from a lot of people in the US calling out like standards of lifting within Australia over the last like weekend in the last week or so. Which,
how do you
to
feel
be
about
fair,
that?
Look, I think we've spoken about this kind of at length a fair bit. And like, I've had this conversation with a few people, and like, I just kind of want to preface it with the whole, like, I understand if you're not happy about something, like, do something to change it or shut the fuck up. And obviously, like, I haven't put my hand up to do a rest course and that sort of stuff. But I think I will, purely on the fact of going, we can do a lot better. And I think, like, the thing you kind of have to look at is, like, for example, if I was judging you at a comp and I thought your squats were high, I would give you a red light.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope you would do the same for me.
I would give you a red light even if it was a good lift. Just
to say fuck you.
Just to make up for that bench press that you got whites for. I feel like I'd need to correct the universe. This
is kind of like a perfect example, is that bench press of mine in no way, shape, or form should have been passed. Just no fucking, like...
no.
Like, my bum came off the bench like that much. You can see under where my bum should have been. Yep. And the fact that got whites, it's like, I don't care if they like me there. Like, sure, like, if you love me and you're like, oh shit, that was like really close, like, it may come off like this much, like you could maybe slide it like a sheet of paper under it, but like, I'm not really sure. Sure, benefit of the doubt. Like, again, the rule book literally says if it's you're not quite sure, like, favor goes to the lifter.
Mm-hmm.
But when, like, you can see fucking inches, no, that shouldn't count. No. So I kind of...
But this doesn't fall on the lifter in any way, because as a lifter and as a competitor, if you get white lights, you shut your fucking mouth and you take it, because that's what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to win. Yeah.
Like, I think the funniest... I think this is obviously, like, when you look at competition reffing across all federations, I don't know if I would sit there and say that there's one federation in Australia that is better than the others. Every time I go, like, I go to GPC comps, I go to WRPF comps, I go to APL comps, I go to US APL comps. I don't go to APA comps because there haven't really been any here. I've been to APU comps. Like I go to a lot of comps. there are some comps when I go, the level of judging is just ridiculously like too much. And there are some comps when I'm like, this is ridiculously shit. Like I've seen comps where a guy has gotten a press call for his bench press before the bar has touched his chest.
I've seen that too.
Now, I don't know how the fuck that happens. If you're coming down and you're a couple of inches off the chest and you get a press call, it's like, well, do you touch the chest and just do a touch and go rep, or do you press from that spot there?
If it was me, I'd just do like the biggest touch and go bounce rep I possibly could.
Heave the fuck out of it. Just like,
yeah. You already got a press command, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but then like, would you get called for downwards motion if you keep going further down to the chest?
Oh, touche.
Yeah. So, but like, this is my point where, like, I don't know. Like, I look at. So, for example, we'll use Sarah as a good example. What did you think of the quality of her lifting for her all-time world record? Did you think her lifts were legit?
I thought they were.
Like, I know I'm obviously putting you on the spot here a little bit, but
yeah, I'm just trying to think from memory because I kind of was watching it as doing other things, but I don't think that they were horrible. I think that they were pretty good.
I like looking at them again. Not there, not able to see the angles quite exactly how you would really want to see them if you were judging it. But I'm like, her squat looked like she was deep enough. She got one red for that, which I'm like, was probably fucking really close from left to right.
Yeah, and the video that I saw was a bad angle, and I still thought it was to depth. So if there was any call that I would question, that I would have questioned, it would have been the lockout on the deadlift. But again, from the video that I saw, I wouldn't be able to make that determination anyway.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, shit, there have been pulls for first place at comps that haven't been world records that have caused more controversy than that here in Australia as well. I think you and I both know the one that I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But like, again, I haven't been to the US. I haven't seen what the standard of coaching is over in the US compared to what it is here. But I think you and I were talking about this a bit earlier. It's like, if you, as a lifter, if your lifting standards are shit, chances are your reffing standards are probably going to be pretty shit too. Not saying that, like, you know, every shitty lifter is going to make a shit judge, because I think that, like, if I look back to my basketball days, there were days where there were people that were terrible at playing basketball, but from a coaching perspective, they were sensational. As a ref, they were sensational because they knew the rules inside and out. Again, I think that the challenge really comes from, like, again, barrier of entry to become a judge at a comp. It's pretty easy. It's okay, cool. Like, I want to become a ref. Yep, cool. No worries. You sit and you observe. Make sure you kind of know the rule book. But like, what kind of like tests are there to be like, cool, how well do you know the rule book? In a situation like X, Y, and Z, based on these parameters, would you give it whites or reds? Like, what sort of testing and like requirements are there other than like watching a few comps and pressing a few buttons under the observation of another judge?
Someone else. Yeah, exactly. That's all it is.
Yeah. Because the wonderful thing about powerlifting is it should be objective. It's not a subjective sport where you go, or like, oh, there was something here that kind of broke one of the rules, but everything else is pretty good, so I'm going to give them a white light. It's like, no. If there's anything that disqualifies it as being a successful lift, it should be given reds. That's simple.
Yeah.
Like, if your bum comes off the bench on a bench press, it doesn't matter how hard of a fight it is. If your bum comes off, sorry, reds.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always going to be the human element to it when there's human judges, and humans do make mistakes from time to time. I think the difference between what we see in powerlifting versus what we see in other sports, where other sports that have referees that make human errors have a governing body of referees that those referees then get reprimanded for their poor decisions. So that, and whether that be a suspension, a fine, further education around like why that was a bad decision and how to rectify it next time. Obviously, the repercussions are determined on the severity of the error or the multitude of errors that were made. And then that just then breeds better refereeing in the future. Whereas we don't have that in powerlifting. If someone makes a mistake, like, what's happening? Nothing.
See, Brian Cook put up a post about it, and he actually made a really good point that I think should be implemented at invitational meets and at like national events, where there should be a jury. And as a lifter, you get one opportunity for the entire day to have a video review on your lift and have a chance for it to be overturned by a jury.
It's not a bad idea.
So if, let's say, you were going for a world record squat and you were like, no, like, I know that was depth, they can literally go like, we've got cameras set up to record it, so that pretty much when there is a dispute, it's like, cool, the comp gets paused for say 5 minutes, or as a in between, say, squats and bench, like, cool, we finished the event, and in the interchange between the two, that's where the jury then goes ahead and deliberates and does their review. Or even if it's like, hey, look, I want to challenge that call, I'm going to continue on as planned, based on obviously what your review is will determine what I do for my next attempt. If there's like, obviously, if it's on a third, then you don't really have much to do with it there. But I feel like if they could sit there and go, yeah, cool, like, we've broken it down frame by frame and we've literally put in a level line there. We've lined it up with your hip crease and it is in line with the top of your knee. What does the rule book say? Does it say the hip crease needs to be in line with the knee or below the knee?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. It says below the knee. It's in line. You're not deep enough. Sorry, that's still reds.
Yep.
Oh, you pause on your bench press and there was a millimeter of downwards motion and that's what you got called for. Tough shit. No downwards motion. Doesn't matter if it's a mil or if it's an inch. Still downwards motion. You got reds. We're going to hold that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got called for soft lockout. We can see your knees are nice and straight. You pulled for the win. You got reds. We're overturning that. You actually win.
Yep.
Now, obviously, this is where I think we would need a governing body for powerlifting in Australia. So we would need your jury members for tested powerlifting, your jury members for untested powerlifting. But I think they would then still need to come under like a communal body that looks after juries across the board, regardless of which fed. And that they would have to go through. So like with Big V basketball, like we have to do like training and register with Basketball Victoria to be like, cool, like it's anti-gambling, like no like match fixing, that sort of stuff. And like there's legal repercussions for us if we're found to be breaking those rules.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the same there. Like for events like Pro Raw, Zero Pro, Nightmare on Mulder Street, it's like, cool, there should be a jury. Like, again, when we were talking to Joe, he's like, that was overturned twice. It was overturned and then it was overturned back in the original direction. And that cost him 20 grand. Like, that's not an insignificant amount of money to lose at a powerlifting comp. And I think if there was like a jury in it, it's like, cool, you get one video, like you get one opportunity to have something overturned. Once it's overturned, word is final.
I just had a brilliant idea while you were having that little soliloquy.
Talk to me.
How cool would it be to have an actual referee pool within Australia of powerlifting referees? Call it PRA, Powerlifting Referees Australia. And that's its own organisation
body
that trains and pays referees to referee and judge powerlifting competitions. And those referees are not affiliated with any powerlifting organisation. They're their own governing body. They have, a head referee, a director or whatever that they all answer to, that a head of training that makes sure that everyone's signed off at certain levels. And if you're going to run a powerlifting meet in Australia, regardless of what federation you're in, you have to have referees from this governing body at your meet. Otherwise, it doesn't count towards anything.
I may be sitting down right now, but I'm giving you a standing ovation.
How fucking cool would that be? Then every meet, regardless of the federation that you're in, is judged the same way. Whether it's good or bad doesn't fucking matter because it's all the same. You're going to have referees that are answering to a higher power or like someone above them that's watching their decisions and watching their performances, and then giving further training based on that, so that everyone's always permanently upskilling. That's all they have to focus on, and then they will get paid because the meet director has to pay this organization to hire the referees for a day, and that money goes to the referees that go there on the day. A portion of the money gets paid to the referees. A portion of it will stay within the Powerlifting Referees Association company for them to continue upskilling and training and do all the things that you need to do on the back end as a business. And let's just grow that, and let's have a pool of referees that's all they do is go and referee all of the federation meets throughout the country throughout the year.
I think that would be fucking incredible if they could organize it. So they might go like, hey, okay, Nick, you're based in New South Wales, so you will, like, for local comps, you will only have to do local comps. If there is like national events or invitational events and your name gets drawn, we will then also pay for you to fly to whatever state you have to fly to.
Yeah.
And then they would obviously have but
there'd be levels. You would get trained as like you're a local level judge, you're
referee,
you're a state level, you're a national level, you're an international level, and you can only get picked for whatever level you're at. So if you're getting trained for national level events, there's probably going to be an element of travel in it, but you're going to want to do it because there's going to be a higher pay packet involved because it's higher stakes.
Honestly, man, if that was a kind of thing that could actually be formed and like built to have here in Australia, I feel like that would make a monstrous difference.
And then you wouldn't have the discussion around like, oh, the refereeing in this federation's dodgy compared to this other federation. It'd actually elevate powerlifting as a whole, because it'd be consistent across the board. People could pick the meets that they want to do based on other factors instead of refereeing.
Yep.
And it would literally elevate powerlifting instantly if you could implement something like that.
The only pushback to it, though, is the fact that powerlifting is as divisive as it is. And like you look at the division between. Oh, but the thing is, the rules should be the same across the board. They shouldn't be.
They're very similar.
Yeah, like obviously, if you go to like an invitational, like a lot of them allow like wrist wraps on deadlifts. So there are some that don't. At the end of the day, does it really make that big of a difference? Probably not. Obviously there are comps that allow.
But if you're a paid referee, that's something that you'll be able to learn on the fly. Oh, Ben, you've been selected to referee at Pro Raw this weekend. And Pro Raw is an invitational meet that's not affiliated with any organization, and they allow this weird rule that other federations don't do. So but just you would also imagine. All right, cool. I'm a professional referee. I'm not just some dude that lifted yesterday and isn't lifting today. So I'll put a referee shirt on. Like, you're gonna ref that meet to the standard that's required because that's your fucking job.
If that was the kind of thing where it could be brought into the conversation as a whole for powerlifting in Australia, I think that would be something phenomenal for powerlifting as a sport. Not only here in Australia, because I think if it was doable and it was viable, I feel like that would then also be something that would take over globally for powerlifting as a whole, and then the sport as a whole would be taken a lot more seriously, and then more money would come into the sport, and then you could actually really start to finance some of these things where it's like, cool, instead of a powerlifting comp maybe having 500 viewers on a live stream, it's now got 5,000 viewers.
Yeah,
I think there would be a lot of potential.
I'm all for the move towards paying athletes. I think that's a brilliant move that should have happened a long time ago, and I'm really happy that it's starting to happen more and more now. But alongside that, I really think we should look at starting to build the infrastructure around it to be able to handle treating powerlifting as a professional organization, which I know is why we're looking at paying athletes, is like, let's start treating powerlifting like the professional organization it is. That's all well and good, and the athletes are a big part of that, but so is everyone else involved. And I think that having the product that kind of warrants the professional tag, a lot of that comes down to consistency of performance, consistency of product. And that comes down to judging, it comes down to spotting, it comes down to loading. And I think those spotters and loaders should be included in that as well. Because if you have a meat that's just spotted terribly, or it's fucking loaded horribly and there's gaps in between and there's misloads and it's clunky, that's not a professional sport regardless of how much you're paying the athletes.
No, and this is where like I'm a big believer that obviously like the meat director should get money for hosting the comp and putting it together and doing all that sort of stuff. Spotters and loaders should absolutely get paid, even if it's just in lieu of payment. So the gym, like if they're like, for example, like with PTC, obviously I don't know how they organize that, if it's just volunteer, but like if I ran a gym and I was running comps out of there, I would probably say to the guys like, hey, look, if you're going to spot and load for the comp on the weekend, you get a month of your gym membership for free. It's not a cash like, here you go, thank you very much, but it's like you get benefit for volunteering your time and effort, and you get like, you know, the gym membership might be however much a month, and it's like, cool, you get that for free. Or you get, like, if they're online coaching clients and they're like, hey, look, I'm not competing this weekend, do you want me to help spot and load? It's like, cool, you get a month of online coaching for free as thank you. It doesn't cost you anything, but it brings up like the capacity of your gym because you've got people that are willing to help. I'm a big believer.
If we're a professional sport, like, why not grow that? Why not grow that imaginary powerlifting referees Australia Association to include spotters and loaders that actually get proper training on how to spot? The amount of times I see people trying to spot a 300 kilo spot like this, or fucking from above the bar, just melts my brain, because if something goes wrong,
you're doing jack shit.
You ain't doing nothing. So let's train these people to do this stuff properly, instead of just throwing them in there because they were good enough to volunteer their time and putting them in harm's way and everyone else in harm's way. Let's build out the framework. Let's build out the structures. Let's build out the organization and the actual product itself, so that it's consistent and safe. And then, like, it's like, dude, we love sport, right? You watch NBA all the time. I watch NFL as much as I can. I watch the footy. It's like, these guys are professional athletes. They're getting refereed by professional referees. They've got professional ball boys. They've got professional commentators, professional, like, guys in the video review box. Could you imagine, like, LeBron getting refereed by, like, some dude that was like, my local basketball game got cancelled today, or I got injured last week, so I can't play today, but I'll ref instead. LeBron's going to be like,
it'd be a joke.
What the fuck is this?
I think you're onto something with that whole idea of having like a referees association. I feel like,
I mean, every other sport has it.
Yeah, and like I'm not saying that like they need to be making like X amount, like hundreds of dollars a day. Like they might go, hey, cool, like you get paid like $20 an hour. It's not a lot of money, but it's a token of appreciation. Like, because if you're there, I mean, fuck, like it might be weigh-ins are at 9 o'clock, or say like 8 o'clock. Lifting starts at 10. The comp runs until 4:30, 5 o'clock. You're expected to be there from 9:30 till 4:30, 5 o'clock, whenever it finishes. You can be paid $20 an hour, or it's just a flat daily fee. Doesn't matter if the comp takes 3 hours, if it takes 6 hours, like your daily fee is $150. So cool. There's $450 for the day for referees.
Yep, exactly. And so say if that's the case, and you get let's just even go referees and not even include the spotters and loaders at the moment. You go referees, so $450 in fees for referees. So let's say the daily fee for the organization is $750. $450 goes to the referees. The rest goes into the organization to provide further upskilling, training, all the stuff that you need to do to provide a service and run a business.
Mm-hmm.
You do that for you can't tell me that meat directors don't have $750 in the bank after they run a meet to pay. Of course they do.
Of course they do.
So that not only is that then going to pay the referees that are there, that then allows $300 extra every meet to go in. At the end of the year, you can run so much training with that.
You would probably also for example, I know USAPL have an expensive membership. I think GPC has an $80 a year membership, somewhere thereabouts. I think USAPL is up around $200.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they're hey, look, part of your membership fee covers, let's say, I don't know, for argument's sake, let's say, I don't know, USAPL has 5,000 active members in Australia. I don't know what their numbers are. It doesn't really matter that much, but it's cool. 10% of our membership fees go towards a retainer with the Referees Association or Powerlifting Referees Association Australia. And, part of that ensures that at every single USAPL comp that we have, we will have actual referees coming in to hold a level and a standard so that we have legitimacy as a federation.
Yep.
Because then what you would start to see is the federations that go, hey, you know what, we're just going to have our own people. People are going to go, well, no,
I don't do that.
I don't want to do that. I want to be someone that has a little bit more of a legitimate claim to a standard and a level of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at, say, USAPL, their judges all have to wear suit pants and shirt and tie.
Mm-hmm.
Professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
There are some where it's you literally just I could sit in a chair like this that might have a logo here and a thing that says referee here. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not professionalism.
Cool. I could be sitting there in fucking Crocs.
Yeah, well, I've seen it.
I don't wear Crocs, but you get the point. But I think you're onto something really interesting here, man. I would be curious to see you build it out a little bit.
Yeah. Shout out Thomas Lilly. I feel like if anyone's going to do that in Australia, it will be you. Reach out.
That's literally what I was thinking. I'm I think you might need to have a meeting with Thomas and be this is an idea I have. How can we do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, honestly, I feel like if anyone's going to do it, it's probably going to be him.
I feel like Thomas and Emad would be two people, if you were going to try and do that, they're the people you would want to have in your corner to be able to go, how can we build this out? They're both fantastic businessmen. Both love powerlifting. They would absolutely be the people where you'd be how do we do it? How do we make it work?
Yeah. I feel like it warrants further conversation for sure.
I do too.
You heard it here first. Bars Loaded, bringing you all the scoops.
There will be a professional board of referees in Australia. Thank you to Nick for your genius idea.
Yeah, I'm going to trademark that now, just in principle.
Yep.
Because I feel like it's worthy.
I'm verbally going to sign that contract for you, so it's now in perpetuity.
Done. I own it.
Exactly. It's now property of Nick, so anyone that tries to take it, you have to, if you want to use it, you owe him an undisclosed amount of blowjobs per week for infinity.
Mm-hmm. I'm down.
Yeah.
Do you want to I'm hoping that you try and steal it. Steal it? Can you steal it?
I already have.
Yes. No, dude, honestly, I don't even care if someone steals it. I just think that's a fantastic idea and it should happen.
Yeah, agreed.
I might actually reach out to Thomas, to be honest.
Do it.
I think I might.
It is Monday at 5:18 p.m. You have until Wednesday at midday to have sent him a message, or I'm going to out you and tell everyone to steal it, and the verbal contract we just signed no longer applies.
By the time this airs, he'll have a message in his inbox.
Good.
Look, it might never happen, but I think it's worth the conversation.
Yep.
Do you ever watch the show Welcome Back, Potter?
Don't think so.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's just a show. It wasn't very good.
Sounds it.
It was like, it's kind of a weird show. I don't know. My dad used to like watching it. My dad likes watching really shit shows. Like, he liked Friends.
I think that's just like a dad thing.
Like, Friends and Becca, like Frasier, like all of those shows.
Hold that for 1 second. I should have kicked Matt out. Fuck, he's a nufty.
He's a big boy.
He's a bit like he came in last night and like literally just laid in here with me while I did check-ins, and then I went out to the door and he was like, "Oh my god, like you're back!" And he came like barging in with me, and then he just like sat like in front of the door, like looking at me, looking at the door, looking at me, looking at the door. I'm like, "Can't you just fucking came in?"
Oh, he wanted you to let him out?
Yeah. Like, was dying to come in here and then was dying to go back out. So, like, fuck it, just go away.
Did you laugh out loud when I sent you that message the other day and I said Enzo's like 34 kilos but can still walk under the coffee table? He's basically you.
You fuck it.
Did you laugh?
I did.
Did you laugh when I sent you the photo of his stumpy little legs watching a movie? And I was like, you watching a movie?
Did you like it when I sent you the image of the giraffe eating? I'm like, this is you having dinner.
Yeah, because it's accurate.
Yeah. Took the play at this game, motherfucker.
Oh, man, I was really tempted to try and play yesterday. Like when I was at the footy, I was like, oh, should I just pull on a jersey?
I'm so glad you didn't. Because we would have been having the conversation today and you would have been in a hospital bed being like, oh, dude, I broke both of my legs.
No. Don't underestimate me. Did I tell you the story of when I last played footy?
No.
So
you may have. I can't remember.
So I retired obviously because of various injuries, etc. And I haven't had an ACL for a really long time. And you know the condition of my knee.
Tip top.
Running, changing direction, not the best thing in the world for it.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved to Port, I moved there, and one of my old buddies that I grew up playing footy with, he had moved to Port a fair few years earlier, and he was actually coaching the footy side up there this was his first year coaching. Mm-hmm. He found out that I moved to Port. He reached out and said, mate, like, I want to win the comp this year. I've heard you've just moved to Port. Do you want to run around one more year? And I was like, nah. I kept saying no. And he kept harassing me. And he said, look, just come in, have a beer with me and the assistant coach, and we'll just kind of run you through what the year will look like. So I can do that. Went in, they had a contract there waiting for me, ready to go with match payments and everything. And they're like, mate, we'll play you off the bench. You know, you'll get 10 minutes either side of the half. We just need someone, you know, we need a clubman. We need someone that's been around footy that, you know, with a bit of aggression that can kind of mentor a few of the younger boys. We won't give you that many minutes. This is how much you're going to get paid per win. We're aiming to win a lot of games, so like it could be worth your while. I said, fuck it, I'll do it. So I signed the contract on the spot. Started preseason a week later. By the end of preseason, my knee was like the size of a balloon. I could barely move. Like I had like very little movement in it because it was so swollen.
Mm.
And we ended up going and playing a trial match down in Sydney against Coogee.
Mm.
I was named in the starting side at front row, which is the position that I play. I ended up playing the entire first half. And then 10, 15 minutes of the second half, came off. My knee was like, I heavily strapped it. I wore a brace. I strapped it, wore a brace, and then strapped over the brace again. So I could barely
So it's
move
pretty much
it.
like a equipped football.
Yeah, and I played pretty well. Like, he was stoked. I put a bunch of hits on. Didn't take many hit ups because it was like the running the ball that I was the most sketchy about. Because then when you get tackled, you get twisted in weird directions. Actually, just like tackling someone's not too bad. I think all game I took like 3 hit ups, but I made heaps of tackles. And then that was on the Saturday. Came home on the Sunday. Monday morning, I got a call from one of my mates who was from Newcastle, and he's like, "Mate, we're in Port." He works at the jail. "Mate, we're in Port. I've got the Cougars here, which is the jail footy team. We're playing in the police comp. It's a week-long carnival. We're about 6 players short because they've had to pull out last minute. I know you live in Port now. Do you want to play front row for us?" I was like, "Dude, I don't work for the jail." And he's like, "That's all right. We won't put you in the book. We'll just put down the other bloke's name, and you can just pretend to be him."
So fraud.
Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, sweet, I'll do that. Now that I'm a footy player again, why not?" So I said, "When do you need me there?" He was like, "Be here in 15 minutes. We kick off." I was like, "Guess I'm calling in sick this week." So I called in sick for the week. I played 3 games on the Monday afternoon, 3 games on the Tuesday, 2 games on the Wednesday. I played the game before the grand final on the Thursday morning, and then the grand final on the Thursday afternoon. And by the end of that game, I shit you not, I couldn't walk. Turned up to training on the Friday because we had another trial match on the Saturday. Turned up to training on the Friday for captain's run, which is like a light run through. Couldn't walk. My knee was so bad. And that Friday night, the whole comp got cancelled for the year because of COVID. And I was like, "Oh, thank fuck." Because I cannot do any more of this.
That's fucking bonkers, man.
Yeah, so that was the COVID cancellation year. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago now. So I do have that reference that although I probably could do it physically if it wasn't for my knee, it's unfortunately the knee that can't handle it. But when I rocked up yesterday, there was 2 guys that I went to school with, that I grew up playing footy with, that have just signed up to play for the Bay. And I was like, "Boys, you're 38. What
It's
are you
meant to
doing?
be.
If you can do it, I can do it, surely."
Makes sense.
I cannot.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So do you want to jump into our final topic for today, which was a topic we were going to talk about last week, but we kind of, in classic bars loaded fashion, ran out of time?
No, I don't.
Cool.
What I would actually want to do quickly first before we do that is I would like to just say, how wild is it that we now have an all-time world record total from a female Australian that is an outrageous total. And we also have Joe, who's done 1,000 kilos back-to-back weekends again for the second year in a row.
There was another really fun stat from that as well. In the space of a month, he had, obviously his squats in Tassie didn't quite go to plan, but it's like within the space of like 4 weeks, there were 3,000 pound plus squats done, or at least attempted. So he did the 455 in training, I think 2 weeks out from Pro Raw. He did a 455 at Pro Raw. and then he came within a bee's dick of all-time Australian record at 470.5.
What did he try that on his third?
Did you hear what happened with his squats? So he missed 440 on his second.
Really?
Yep. And still took 470.5 on a third.
Dude, I thought that was very close. It looked like he kind of just lost balance a little bit at the top.
Yeah.
Other than that, I feel like it's there.
It's not, that wasn't a strength issue. That was just a balance issue. Like it was nice to see him like really have to work for that and really like dial in and like hone into being like, oh cool, like I've got to like fucking really give this a good nudge. But it just threw him a little bit at the top, which again, with that much weight, like your room for error would be so minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that was a major issue. But yeah, sort of getting back to Sarah, like her performance was outrageous. 315.
Outrageous, especially considering what she did only a week prior at Pro Raw as well.
Yeah, like,
you know, like it's not
plus
like she was
15 on her
fresh.
squat. Yeah, it's like plus 15 on her squat, plus 2.5 on her bench, and however much it was on her deadlift as well. But I'm like, fucking outrageous. Like 775 kilos at under 100 kilos body weight, I'm pretty sure. Like the biggest total by a woman ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she's Aussie. That's pretty fucking incredible.
She now has a bigger squat than me, a bigger bench than me, and a bigger total than me. Which is
same.
Isn't that just? And I'm 140 kilos when I competed.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's just like, so crazy to me.
It's because it is.
You know, like to put it into perspective, when I competed and when I when I squatted 300 kilos and, you know, when I got the total that I got, people were like, whoa, bro, that's fucking crazy that you can do that. Like, you're pretty strong. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, there's obviously people that are a lot stronger, but there's obviously a lot of people that aren't as strong. To think that a female who's significantly lighter can do more than that is very mind-blowing.
It's insane.
Because I know what that feels like on your back.
Like about 300 kilos?
Yeah. It feels fucking heavy.
I'm just seeing if there is... So I've just Googled like how many people in the world can squat 300 kilos.
You could probably go to open powerlifting and put in... I wonder how you could filter that. 300 by squats and then just scroll down till it goes to like 299.5.
I'll do that really quickly.
I mean, obviously we've spoken to Joe on the podcast and we have some really exciting guests coming up that'll be released in the next few weeks, and the leaks, you know, like every Friday, realistically, from now on, there's going to be someone who you or I or both of us combined feel like is worth talking to. And she'd be one of them, man. I'd love to talk to her and just kind of talk about the journey to where she is and like some of the decisions that she's had to make along the way and what it feels like to be the best at all time of something. That's something that I've always wondered. Like, what does it feel like to say I am the greatest at all time at the thing that I do?
I would love to get her on as well and just, as you said, sort of like have a discussion around her journey. What, like, even just like the mindset shift from when she first started to her now being the best in the world, I think that would be absolutely fucking amazing.
Because obviously, like, you and I are great at what we do, and I have no bones about saying that out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're the best on the planet at what we do. We've spoken to some really great people, and we've got some fantastic people in our corner. I think it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the people that we know probably could have that claim, but it would be hard to measure in a business sense.
Yep.
Because it's not as definitive. But to have it black and white, you are the greatest of all time at this thing that you do. There's no conjecture. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a fucking wild feeling.
I think would be as well. I'm just scrolling through the 300. Like,
I think I think the person that we're speaking to tomorrow could potentially have that claim as well.
Yeah. So a quick question for you: how many people do you think have squatted over 300 kilos in the world?
I wouldn't. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know. 500.
Yes, it's more than that.
5,000.
So I've literally just filtered it, all feds, raw plus wraps, all classes, all sexes, all ages, all years, all events, but filtering it by squats. So far, I'm at 3,740, and I'm still scrolling through the 700-pound squats.
Isn't that retarded?
It's insane, dude.
But really, it's not. It's not that many people.
When you
even at 3,000, when you think of the population of the planet.
Well, I was going to say, if you think about it as the population of the planet as a whole, it's not that many people.
No.
From a relative percentage. But I'm also now over 5,500. There's some really weird, like, there's like 303.9 kilos. I'm like, what?
That must be like a pound conversion.
Probably.
You're getting close then if it's 303.
I'm on the 300s now. So I'm now literally just waiting to see until I see like something with a 2.
I think it'll definitely be under 10,000.
I think it will be as well. Like I'm almost at 7,000 now. Like there are a lot of 300 kilo squats in here.
Yeah, because everyone goes for it.
7,100 on the dot.
Oh, nice round number.
But I'm going to make it a little bit more fun. Okay, so this hasn't been updated yet, but that puts Sarah at number 2 for the squat worldwide with her 315.
For females?
Yeah. So April Mathis has scored 320. So I think that's who she beat.
For the total.
Christy Hawkins has scored a 310. Hunter Henderson has scored a 305. Interesting thing will be if we go by total. Yeah, so April Mathis was number 1. She had 772.5, which was a 320 squat, a 200 bench, and a 252.5 deadlift.
200 bench?
She was 125.
Wow, I feel horrible about my powerlifting abilities.
Fuck.
That's incredible.
I think she's a. Oh, sorry. That's. So she does like equipped benching as well.
Hmm. Are you going like full spiral at the moment?
Yeah.
I can see it in your eyes.
Look what you've done to me, Nick. Okay, I'm gonna leave that for now because otherwise I will be like, what podcast?
But yeah, I did just want to take a moment to touch on that because I just think that's absolutely unbelievable and
fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I would love to have that conversation. Let's try and make that happen.
Done. We can definitely do that.
Yeah, because firing, man. I just want to say congratulations because that's insane.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very, very impressive.
It's just like so strong.
The coolest thing about it is that I just so happen to open Instagram and see, you know, when the live streams, it has the red ring around it and it says live.
Mm-hmm.
I just so happened to open Instagram. I saw that Competitive Edge had a live stream going. I clicked on it, and just as I clicked on it, I heard the announcer say Sarah Rainbow with like whatever on the bar for her deadlift. And I was like, oh, perfect timing. I literally watched her deadlift for the world record.
Nice.
It was just, yeah, had I have clicked like a minute later, I would have missed it.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
It's just such a fucking impressive feat of strength.
It's, yeah. And you know the coolest thing about it as well?
What's that?
She's jacked and in good shape. Which is something you and I preach all of the time.
Yes. But I think this is like the cool thing about like Australian powerlifting is we've had a few Aussies. Obviously, we've got Sarah that's just gone, obviously, number one all time. We had Dylan that was the first to go 1,900. Jen would be one of very few women in the world that have benched double bodyweight in competition. Like, there's some pretty phenomenal feats of strength by some very strong women.
It's because we're convicts.
Yeah. Like, even like, I think Cleo may have been like the first Aussie female to put up like a 700 kilo total. Like, just some absolutely outrageous shit that has been done by some phenomenally strong Aussie women.
Mm-hmm. Very cool to see.
Very impressive.
Now I'm happy to move on.
No. All right. So, well, I reckon we'll probably have 40-ish minutes or so of this one here. But obviously, we're going to talk about comp day handling and how we like to approach it as coaches, obviously having competitive backgrounds in powerlifting. I believe the question was around when we would push and when we would just sort of play the game. So yeah, how do you know as a coach when to push a lift and cruise, a lift to get first/pull for the win, etc., or place a hold a number? Pretty much how to handle, as I do want to learn more of that so I can be a better handler and coach. So I guess like where I would like to start off, and I'll pose this question to you. As a handler on the day, what is your objective?
I would have multiple objectives on the day based on the lifter that I have. So
Mm-hmm.
my main objective as a coach is to get the lifter the best result possible. Full stop.
Yep. Perfect.
What that looks like will obviously vary from comp to comp and lifter to lifter, but the objective is always to guide them to the best result that they can achieve personally.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that'll be guided by what other lifters do. Sometimes it won't have anything to do with other lifters. Sometimes it'll be a matter of trying to get as many white lights as possible and land as many lifts. Sometimes it'll be a matter of getting into a position to fight for a win or a place, and then maybe having to play a little gamesmanship with the other lifters in terms of like playing with the rules and playing with the numbers and attempt selections and etc. to put the lifter in the best position to maybe pull for a place or pull for a win, which might then require a little bit of an overshoot on the day, and that'll just kind of come down to a game time decision based on what the objectives are of the day. But first and foremost, it'll just come down to getting that lift to the best result.
Yeah.
What about you?
Again, I think it depends on the athlete that I have on the day. For a very general rule, it would always boil down to, cool, get the best total objective that we can. I'm pretty fortunate that I also get asked every once in a while to handle athletes that aren't my own. So, like, for example, I handled someone on the weekend and the objective was a national record squat, which unfortunately we weren't successful with, but not for a lack of bloody effort. There was some really good reflections that we did have afterwards, though. So she hit 145 on her opener. We took 155.5 on a second and a third, and just lost like balance in her feet as she was pushing and just lost it. Again, shit happens. But again, like as a general rule, it would very much be the objective is to build a big total unless we are specifically going into a competition for the sake of trying to break records. I'm always a big believer in if you can go as close to 9 for 9 as possible and sort of set yourself up for a really good day, you have a much higher chance of winning. Which, as much as a lot of people tend to do the whole like, oh, well, I compete in powerlifting for my own benefit. It's like, you can just do gym lifts for that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a competition.
Yeah. So I think for me, it really boils down to like, how can I set this athlete up to have the best day possible? And as you said, that might involve a little bit of tactics towards the end or even at the start. Like there are some very fun tactics that you can play with people in the warm-up rooms for squats. If you really want to get under their skin from the very get-go of the day. Some people will say that's like unsportsmanlike. I sit there and I go, you've obviously never played sport at a high level before.
No,
buckle up, sunshine. Like
that literally is the sport. Yeah.
So I would just come back to the whole the objective for me is set the athlete up to have a successful day, and do what's necessary to help facilitate that.
Yeah, I think you've really touched on a nice point where you said put them in a position to do well, or put them in a position to place or go for the win, etc. And if you think about powerlifting as a sport and you draw comparisons to other sports, you can really start to see how that will structure throughout a competition day. So if we liken it to, say footy, you've got 80 minutes split into 40-minute halves. The majority of the time, you want to play percentage plays. You want to put yourself in a position to be there at the end of the game to win. You're not going to win the game in the first half. You're not going to win the game in the first 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. You win it in the last 20, generally, last 10, last 20. So we take high percentage plays. We take the opportunities that are presented to us. We don't do dumb shit right from the start to try and win the game in the first 10 minutes. Play percentage plays, put yourself in a position to be there at the end of the game when it really matters. Same with powerlifting. Yep. It's like, I personally don't like I like building percentage plays from the start. Let's make as many squats as we can. Let's make as many benches as we can. Let's have a really nice subtotal coming out of bench press. Be in a position then where we can say, all right, this is where we're at. This is where we want to be at the end of deadlifts. This is maybe we need to push it a little bit higher if we're in a position to take a win. Now we can do that because we've got room to play. If you push for that extra 2.5 on squats and it's just not there, you're leaving a lot on the table. So say you go, I don't know, for argument's sake, for ease of math, let's take decent sized jumps and let's go. You go 275, 290 on your squats, and then you're in a position, you hit 290 on your second, you're like, fuck, it's only a nice little 10 kilo jump to 300, but 300 is gonna be a fucking stretch. Like, I just don't think it's gonna be there. But 297 is definitely going to be there. I would lean into taking 297.5, taking that extra 7.5 kilos, moving on to bench, taking the same approach at bench press, taking what you know is there, high percentage plays, building a nice total, coming into deadlifts with the intention of, now I'm in a position to play this game. Whereas if you go for that extra 2.5 kilos because I really got to get that 300 kilo squat, you miss it.
And you lose that 7.
You lose 7 kilos there. Now you're not in a position to do jack shit.
Or you're in an incredibly stressful position where it's like one more fuck up and that puts you out of contention.
Yeah, which then can lead to negative decisions come bench press where you're like, okay, I need to make up some kilos here. You take something that you probably have no business taking. You leave a few more kilos there because you missed your third, pushing a little bit too hard to try and make up kilos. And now you're in a position come deadlifts where you could potentially be coming into deadlifts 10, 15 kilos ahead of where you are on your subtotal. But because you made that one decision for that to try and pull that extra 2.5 kilos out of your squat, you're actually 15 kilos back and you're not in a position to do anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I look at it. And I think the reason I look at it that way is because of the sporting background. I was always taught, let's play high percentage, let's take what's given to us, and then when we're in the position to win, then we can fight for the win.
Yeah, like we would do the same in basketball. Like we had some teams that we would play against where it's like we know we're going to utilize our posts because they're going to be stronger comparatively to their posts. So it's like we're going to utilize plays that allow those guys to really go to work and do what they do. We had some teams that we would play where it's like, cool, we're going to be taking a lot of threes because their guards aren't that good, and we have a fairly high percentage of made 3-pointers. There were some games where it's like, it's going to be very much on the flow, and we kind of just have to, play with a degree of intellect and make good choices as we go to kind of go, who's in a position to take good shots and to make shots. Like if someone wasn't making shots, they didn't get the ball because they weren't consistent enough to be given that opportunity. I think the same really boils down to powerlifting as well. Is I think as you perfectly summed up, if someone goes from say a 290 second attempt, even if they took 295, they might still go, it's only 5 kilos. But that 5 kilos literally could be the difference between you winning and losing. Like how often have we seen people go, hey, I pulled and I won by 2.5 kilos, or I've pulled to tie you and I won on body weight.
all the time.
Like it happens. I mean, like even pro raw, like we had Nick and Tyson in third and second.
Mm-hmm.
Nick pulled something bonkers on a third deadlift, and he pulled and came second.
Yeah, but there was, like we mentioned on last week's episode, neither of us think there was an extra 0.5 kilos in that deadlift. That was
I
the
don't think there was an extra.
absolute upper limit.
I don't think there was even a fucking extra 100 grams in that deadlift.
Exactly. So he was lucky enough to be in a position to even be able to attempt that. Because had he have missed any of his other lifts leading up to that, more than what he maybe did miss, he wouldn't have even been in a position to do that.
Yeah.
On the flip side, had he have, I don't actually know how the rest of his day went. I think he missed a squat, at least one, maybe
I think
two.
He missed two.
Yeah,
so, I think he missed 315 twice.
So there you go. Had he have maybe picked up an extra 5 or 10 kilos on his squat, I don't know what the jumps were, but had
it was like 20.
Had he have picked up a couple of more kilos there, would then he have been in a position to place higher?
I don't think he would have been in a position to knock Mitch off.
Mitch was a fair bit ahead, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe if...
like PB total or something like that.
Had there been an extra 5 kilos that he had to pull for, he wouldn't have been able to do it. Because there was nothing, there wasn't an extra kilo there. Had he have made an extra 10 in squats, he still would have been in a position to do it.
I think this is where it really boils down to as well. Like, sometimes erring on a slightly more conservative approach. I think it also really boils down to, like, where is your strength as a lifter? Again, you get some people that are squat specialists and they're going to put up something absolutely fucking filthy and they're going to have a 60 kilo lead coming into squats. But then, like, you look at someone else and they might have a really well-rounded squat bench dead. It's like, cool, you may be 60 kilos ahead in squats. There are going to be some people that might get overwhelmed with that and try and push to try and catch up and do something silly. Whereas if they just play their game, by the time it comes to third deadlifts, they're 30 kilos in front because that person may have a rubbish squat or a rubbish deadlift. Like, you quite often see people with a really big squat don't have the greatest deadlift in comparison. So I look at it and I go,
to knowing though.
Yeah, and like, I think this is an aspect of powerlifting that can have positive implications and negative implications as well. But like, actually knowing who your competition is, like the amount of time, like, again, going back to basketball, like, we knew who our competition were, like who they were. We knew who on their team was their better players. Like, we would literally have people who worked for our club that would go out and watch other teams play and do reports and go, hey, this person's really fucking good. You know, when we play them, this is what they're going to do, and this is what we have to do to mitigate the damage that this guy can do. Like, when I was, again, like, I played high level basketball, and I was a very good defensive guard. That was my realm where, like, I think I was ranked number 1 or like number 2 in the country when I was like under 14s. Like, I was incredibly good. I would average like 6 charges a game, bunch of steals, heaps of rebounds. Like, I was a pain in the ass. But when I was playing like high school basketball, we had in fact, even when I was playing rep basketball, like, there were 2 semi-final games where, like, the point guard for the other team, they're like, this guy he like averages like, 30, 40 points a game. He's an absolute savage. The type of defense that we're going to play, Ben, you are just going to have to play him the entire game. If you're getting tired and he's getting too far ahead of you, like, let us know. We'll call timeout so you get a bit of a breather. And my job was like, I'm going to stick to that kid like a fat kid on a cupcake. And I'm going to try and force fouls. And I'm going to try and get him to do some dumb shit. Like, I may not have been the most effective offensive player, but defensively, it was like you couldn't find someone who could match me on our teams. To the point where, like, when I was in high school, like, we beat a team in the semifinals that we weren't expected to beat, and in the the change rooms after, like our head coach was like, guys, like if it wasn't for Ben, like we wouldn't be playing in the grand final next week. And then I got dropped, which you could imagine how fucking salty I was on that. But like, I think it really boils down to like coming into powerlifting. It's like if you're competing against someone that you know that they've got a massive deadlift and they're going to be 40, 50 kilos in front of you when it comes to thirds, if you guys are successful, it's like, you know that you're going to need a 70 to 80 kilo lead coming into deadlifts. Like there was a guy that I used to compete against, Marcus, and there's still it's a meme that pops up every year on my Facebook memories, and it makes me fucking die with laughter every time I see it. But it's got it's like that. Do you watch South Park?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a meme from South Park where it's like something happens to, like, you know, you're gonna have a bad time. So he made a meme where it was like, oh, when you're even with Ben coming into deadlifts, like, you know, you're gonna have a bad time.
Nice.
Because, like, you know, I would pull sort of like 270, he'd be sort of pulling like 250, 260, and I'd sort of get a win by like 15 to 20 kilos, depending on obviously how the day unfolded. But it was like, that was my thing, is like, I know that he was going to squat a little bit less than me, but he was going to bench more than me. But it was like, I knew that if I was within sort of like 10-ish kilos, like I knew I was going to have him because I could out deadlift him. And he knew that as well. And obviously, like, we trained at the same gym. It made it a lot more fun because there was good banter. But there was a guy that, like, I used to compete against who was from Geelong. His name was Zach. Awesome guy. And he and I used to go head to head. Yeah, he and I used to go like head to head in like every comp that we would do. So like every comp, like we'd be prepping, he'd message me like, oh, you compete at this one? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, are you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool, I'll see you there. And I remember there was like one day where he pulled 280 on his second deadlift and like smoked it. And I think I made my second, but I missed my third deadlift. And I'm like, dude, you only need to pull like 285 to win, but you've still got 300 on there. Like, why don't you just like pull it back, win? And he goes, nah, man. He goes like, I want 300 in comp. And I remember like, I was like standing on the sides being like, oh, well, like if you're going to do it, like fucking let's do it. And I think like obviously there weren't really any stakes in that sort of thing. So there was really good rivalry, but it was supportive rivalry where like, you know, he was going for a 300 kilo pull. I knew that if he got that, like that knocked me out of first and gave him first instead. But I would have rathered cheered him on to see him succeed and have him knock me out because he earned it, rather than like go off and be like, oh, I hope he misses, I hope he misses, I hope he misses. And but again, like I think when it comes down to,
did he get it?
You know, no, he was probably like an inch off locking it out. It was very unfortunate that he missed it. But I think like when it does come down to like, you know, glory and money, I think there's obviously very different approaches you kind of need to take. And it's like, cool, like in the process of competition, like I'm here to beat you. Like I'm not here to hope that you do well. I'm here to hope that I do better than you because I want to win. I want to make prize money.
Yeah, and it is a powerlifting competition, and I think that that's something that needs to be kept in mind. And if you're going there to just focus on yourself and try and get a better total than last time, maybe try and hit some PRs, and you don't really give a fuck about the competitive side of it, that's a completely different story. But yeah, I know the person that asked this question doesn't fall into that category. He's doing powerlifting as a competitive endeavor, and as a lot of people that kind of you and I speak to and in our circles, it's a competitive endeavor for them. So if that's the case, I wouldn't personally subscribe to the don't watch your competitors on Instagram because it's bad for your mental health kind of route or camp. I would sit more in the camp of study your competition. You know, as a lifetime athlete, I can't even tell you the amount of film sessions that I've done on opposition.
Yeah.
literally weekly, multiple sessions per week for my entire career was spent in a film room watching film on the competition, seeing how they move, seeing what their strengths and weaknesses were so that we could defend and attack them. So powerlifting is a sport, and if we're doing it as a sport and we're trying to be competitive, know your competition, know their strengths, like know your weaknesses, like you just pointed out. And I think
as
an area of powerlifting that does that fantastically is the IPF lifters.
Yeah, agreed.
They are fucking brilliant, and I must say a level above anything else I've seen in any other federation of knowing their competition, knowing where they sit within their strengths and weaknesses in relation to their competition, and then playing the game on the day to put themselves in a position to win. It's not so much how much can I eke out of this one lift. It's how can I position myself with the best total to win.
Yeah.
More often than not in those competitions, and I actually love that, and I love watching it. It makes for great watching as well.
Like, I think as well, like, you will get some lifters that are a little bit neurotic and hyper fixated on specifics. I think those are probably the people where if they are fixating so much on their competition that they start doing stupid things in training and making mistakes and overshooting for the sake of trying to like make up ground. I feel like they're the people where it's like, cool, like you don't worry about them. You just focus on running your own race and you build your total, because that will put you in a position to be competitive.
Yeah. But I mean, even for those people, and maybe even for the majority of people, I feel like as a coach, that kind of falls under your responsibility as well. If you have a lifter that is in a position to be competitive, that wants to be competitive, I feel like it's your duty as a coach to know who they're going up against, know what their competition is capable of on the day, and then be able to position your lifter during the day to be in a position to win. And that's something that you and I worked very well on with Josh, for example, at Nationals, where you obviously coached Josh into Nationals, and I trained alongside Josh frequently for that prep into Nationals. So we both had a very good understanding of what his capabilities were. We also knew the competition that he was going against. He also knew the competition that he was going against. You provided me with a plan to handle him on the day, and then you also gave me the ability to make game time decisions based on what was happening, which I was very grateful for. So thank you.
But on that note, though, there's only one person I would have trusted with that role, and that was you. Because I know that you're not a fucking idiot and you know the rules well enough to be able to make those decisions.
Right. And so what we did was we used your framework to build, like you obviously gave us your attempt selections that you would have liked to have seen. I then spoke to Josh on the day and I said, okay, so what do you know about these other guys? What are their strengths? What have they done in training? I spent time looking up the other lifters on what their best prep lists were. It was only one other lifter that was really in contention. So I kind of spent time looking at his best prep lifts, where he was at. We rolled in with squats. We took what we needed out of squats. We knew that he was going to have a significantly larger bench. So we created what we felt was enough of a gap after squats to absorb the bench gap. We were right. He did have a significantly larger bench, but we had created enough of a gap to where we came into deadlifts right kind of where we wanted to be. And then we were able to position Josh to where we were able to make that other lifter make a few, or aid in that other lifter making a few mistakes on the day by trying to keep up with the selections that we had attempted. Then we pulled the selections down after that had happened to allow Josh to pull exactly what he needed to pull to win.
And which he did.
And that's exactly the result that we were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think you can get much of a better outcome than what PB squat, PB deadlift. I think it was a PB bench as well, or equal.
It was
PB
an equal
total,
bench, but it would have been a PB bench. It was just I fucked that up for him.
No, so it's funny. Josh and I had that discussion afterwards. I'm like, that's not a you problem. The judge shouldn't have given the call if he was still on the bench.
No, he shouldn't have.
That's right. If he was still on the platform, like they should have looked at you and be like, get off the platform, and then given him the call. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have given him the call if it wasn't right.
I know it was bad. It was actually bad both ways because then so he got the start call when his ass was still up.
Yeah,
I was still on the platform trying to get off.
But again, that's the reason
The reason he got red lights is because he got the start call and his ass was still up. So he had nothing to do with that. And then when we went to contest it, they said, well, if you contest it, you'll get red lights for getting the start call with your handler still on the platform. I'm like, well, fucking, you can't have it both ways.
But they're saying that it was reds for one thing, but then reds for another. So it's like, well, then let him retake it.
Exactly. And it moves really well too. So, and even with that mistake though, he got the win, which is all we really wanted on the day. And
that's it.
And that's sport. That's what we were talking about last week, is using the rules to your advantage and knowing the rules well enough
that you can use them to your advantage.
That you can. And it's funny because because I was handling your lifter and because it was Josh, and Josh is a friend of mine, and you're obviously a very close friend of mine, and I didn't want to fuck things up for either of you. I was so neurotic on knowing what I needed to do to the point where I had it written on my hand what Josh, the exact number that I needed to pull it back down to for him to win. And I was literally knelt at the table, and as soon as that other lifter missed his deadlift, I said, I want to, and I had another coach say, oh, you have to lower it to this other number, which was 2.5 kilos more than what I actually needed. And I was like, no, actually, I don't. It only has to be this because he weighed in lighter. So it only has to be this.
It's always really funny when people try and chip in their 2 cents. Like on Saturday, for example, when the girl I was handling was warming up for deadlifts, I had her last deadlift loaded. And there was a guy in the warm-up room who's like, oh, what do you need? I'm like, oh, we just need like 130 for our last one. But he goes, oh, you've got 140 on there. I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, yes, you do. And I'm like, plate maths is not something that I'm bad at. Like, I'm very good at plate maths. And he's like, well, he goes like, you've got a 25, you've got a 20, and you've got a 10. See, 25. And then he realized what he'd done. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it equals 130. I know what I'm doing. And then I had someone come up to me like after that, and they're like, I don't think he knows who you are and how experienced you are with this. I'm like, that's fine. Like, I don't care. But if someone's going to tell me that I'm wrong in a warm-up room when it comes to loading a bar, no.
Show your work.
Yeah. And his work was wrong and mine was right. So, but I mean, it's always really interesting, like, because people will look and go, oh, but like what you've got him pulling will mean that it's equal. And it's like, yeah, but if he weighs in lighter, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And that's
like if he was 100 grams heavier, it's like, all right, well, cool. We got to chuck on a 285 deadlift rather than 282. And that's what he's got to pull to win. But I think as well, like, it really shows the caliber of the athlete that you work with, where it's like, cool, this deadlift that you now have to pull here decides whether you walk away with a gold or a silver medal. We didn't come here for silver.
And that was,
and like, I think credit to Josh, like he executed fucking wonderfully that day, and he came to play and he won, and he, he walked away with what he deserved.
Yeah, fucking. I feel like we're shouting out Josh a lot on this podcast, but big shout out to Josh for that deadlift specifically, because that was a moment and there was palpable tension in that room in that moment because everyone knew what was happening. That was significantly heavier than he's ever had in his hands. He had never even attempted that weight, let alone pulled it. It was like a decent chunk heavier than he'd ever even attempted.
Well, I think our heaviest rep pull was 275.
I know. Yeah, so it was a chunk heavier. And if you watch the video back, which I have done recently, because he showed me in a conversation that we're having, it's quite impressive to see the composure that he approached the bar with and that he set up with, knowing what was on the line. He even had the wherewithal to look over at the timer and check how much time he had, and take a few extra breaths and make sure that his setup was perfect, knowing that what was on the line and that he actually had to execute, and it was do or die.
I think the one thing that
cool
really
moment.
Yeah, I think the one thing that would have really paid off in his favor for that is with him being such a meticulous lifter. For him, like, if he's millimeters off, he's like, yeah, I'm off. He's very hyper aware of where he is, what he needs to do, and if he's in the pocket, he's in the pocket.
Yeah, it's like on or off. And he and I have spoken about that a fair bit. I'm sure you and he have spoken about that a fair bit as well. He's like, I think he's going to get a lot of benefit from just building some resiliency in shitty positions, to where those little shifts in degrees, technique and things like that don't spell doom for the lift itself.
Yeah. And that's something that he and I have spoken on. I mean, like, we're a week back into working together, and we've already spoken about that, substantially enough, where I said to him, like, look, this is what my objective is for you with this off season, so that when we are in a position where we are looking at another comp, it's not if you tilt forward
1 degree,
a centimeter, you're not going to lose it. You're going to go, cool. It's now become a little bit harder, but you've still got the overall strength to be able to push through and finish the rep and do something. Because I said to him, like, he does have a huge amount of potential to be a phenomenal lifter.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
massive.
Yeah, like, he's still super young. Obviously no major injuries, which is really, really handy. And he's hungry to progress. So
yeah, and he takes it serious.
Like he goes in, he trains hard, he does what he needs to, like, he nails his nutrition, he's pretty good with his sleep. Like, the boxes that need to be ticked, like, he does a really good job at ticking those. I think this off season that we've already started has already given him a bit of a kick in the face in terms of, like, some areas that we're probably lacking a little bit.
I saw him do some conditioning the other day.
Yeah, he didn't enjoy that. But
I know, he sent it to me. He was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, but this is, like, again, you and I talk about this, like, all the time in terms of, like, conditioning for powerlifters and how it's just, like, beneficial. Like, I'm not sure if you saw on Alana's story today, like, she was doing interval work on the Echo bike, and she's like, what the fuck is this, Luke? But it's like, imagine how much better she's going to be when she has a high capacity, and then she can handle more volume, and then she can get even stronger that way. Like,
I loved seeing that.
But this is where, like, I think if we are establishing, like, a new standard of, hey, cool, this is what it means to be an elite level powerlifter. Like, you are actually going to be an elite level athlete.
Wasn't that cool, Josh, to see her doing that? Because she's not a fat, out of shape powerlifter by any stretch of the imagination. She's got quads in her vein year round. Veins in her quads. She's got quads in her veins too. She's very jacked. But
she's fucking jacked as all shit.
Like, if she's going to jump on and do some conditioning work,
yep,
surely everyone else
should do it too.
Probably should do it as well. Because if anyone can get away with not doing it, It's probably the most shredded powerlifter in the country.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think sort of coming back to the whole concept of like, you know, if we are looking at what we need out of our powerlifters on comp day, from a handler's perspective, I would say, like, and obviously this is just a bit of a summary of sort of what we've spoken about. It's like, one, set them up to have a really successful day. That may be successful in the sense of squatting a record. It may be benching a record, maybe deadlifting a record, maybe a total record, like whatever it may be. Like, I think having a solid plan prior to the comp about like, cool, what is the objective of this competition? What is the plan? And what happens when things don't go to plan? Like, what are we going to do? Like, what's our backup?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I know, like I will quite often go into comps with my athletes knowing full well what their first, second, third squat and bench attempts are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is probably where I want you to fall. Like, you know, if things are moving really well, like we may adapt it and adjust it a little bit, but it's going to be within a few % of where these numbers are based on what your training numbers have been.
Yep.
And then obviously like deadlifts, you know, opener will be around here, your second will be around here, and your third, depending on obviously where we're sitting in the mix, you know, we may just try and bump our total a little bit more if we don't have a chance of pulling for placing. But shit, if we're within striking distance of first, what do we have to lose? Like, best case scenario, you pull something, you end up in first, amazing.
Yep.
Worst case scenario, you stay where you are, and then it's no harm, no foul.
Yep. Yeah, I love that, man. I do the same thing. I actually provide a comp day PDF to every athlete that I take into comp, and then they get a copy sent to them a few days out, and then I obviously keep a copy on my phone to reference back to at the competition. But on that PDF, we'll have every warm up that I want them to take. What starts with the warm up drill, so it has the warm up drills that I want them to do. Every warm up that I want them to do, including 5 times the bar, etc., all the way up. What their opener, second, and third looks like, and then a lesser and a greater opener, second, and third. So if things are moving a bit shitty, this is what we might look at pulling down to. If things are moving really well, this is what we can potentially push to if we feel like we need to. So that kind of provides a really nice framework for me to work off on the day as well. And that's not a hard and fast, these are the decisions that I've made 3 days out, this is what it has to be. This is just a guide that can help guide decisions in the heat of the moment, but it's always going to be a game time decision based on what I'm seeing. What I also find it does, is I find that providing that to the athlete as well starts to frame their thinking around the numbers that they're looking at, and it takes away that I'm just going to yeet shit because it's comp day, which we see so often.
Too often.
But
sort of like following on from that as well, I think if you are going into a comp and you and your athlete are on the same page about kind of what the expectations are and where there's a bit of give and take if it's required, I think that builds a really good dynamic as a team. And it means that, like, if coming into bench, it's like, hey, look, we need to pull back your third attempt by a couple of kilos and just take something a little bit more conservative. Those extra 5 kilos that we're going to get from this rather than the 10 that you want is going to build that total. It's going to put you in a position where you're going to be more competitive coming into deadlifts where you can really start to push them and make them make stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
I think if you guys are coming in and going, yep, cool, like we're both on the same page about what the expectation is, what the plan is, it's a lot easier in the heat of the moment where it's like, cool, like this is what I put in for your attempt. And they're just going to be like, yep, absolutely, okay, that's fine. It's within what I know the plan is going to be.
Yeah.
Like on Saturday, for example, the bench attempts that we had, we opened at 57. And I pretty much said that I was like, we'll go 57. either 60 or 62 for a second, and then see where we're at potentially coming in for thirds. 57 flew. I was like, I'm going to be conservative on the second because we hadn't had squats go to plan quite as much. And I put 60 in. She thought I put 62 in. I was like, no, like it's just 60. If 60 flies, then I'll kind of decide whether I go 62 or 65 for a third. 60 was her current comp PB. So I was like, whether it's 62 or 65, like it's PB. So we came off and she's like, what have you put in? I'm like, well, we're going for a PB on your third.
Nice.
In her mind, she was like, that's 65. So when we went out for it, she set up with the intention of going, I know that this is 65. I'm going to have to work really hard. She did it and then was like, oh, that was like, hang on, that was only 62. I'm like, yeah, but it was a perfect selection for you. That extra 2.5 that you would have had to press probably would have bitten you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that there, she's like, oh, well, I thought it was 65. I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm like, you still have a bench PB. Like, that's a good day. 3 for 3. You know, you got your white lights, you got your bench PB. Like, that's a box ticked. Let's go move on to deadlifts now.
Yep.
But again, like, I think it comes back to like build the total, build confidence, build momentum, capitalize on it when you can. And when you don't have the capacity to do so, just mitigate the damage as best as you can. Again, that's where I think your approach of having the give or take sets up a really nice framework where the athlete goes, cool, like, you know, again, you have some comp days where you come and you're like, fuck, like my taper just was a little bit off, or my peak was a little bit too aggressive. I'm just not feeling it today.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, cool. You might come in, you might drop your opener by 10 kilos just to get something comfortable on the board. And then you get that confidence. You're like, oh, I'm on the board. I'm in the swim. Now I'm going to jump to my second because I'm feeling good. And you hit that and you're like, fuck it, I'm back.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that the providing that PDF with options does is it kind of opens up the opportunity, or it opens up the mindset around like changing numbers isn't a bad thing. Like these numbers that we've put in, they're not set in concrete and they can change at any moment. Like obviously once you provide your openers, ideally they're the numbers that you want to open with. But if you then go into the weight room and you start warming up and things are just moving like hot garbage, it's okay to change your openers to make sure that you get in the meat. Like I would say that if you don't do that, you're making a big mistake. So having that,
and you're lifting based off ego.
You're lifting based off ego, like what you want to lift, not based on what's there on the day. So by providing this PDF that has lower and higher options, it's already setting the tone of like, okay, if I need to change things on the day, I'm going to. So that then when I say, if I have to say in the warm-up room, oh, Ben, like that was your last warm-up and it didn't really move the way I want it to move. I'm going to go and lower your opener to this. Are you okay with that? You then automatically don't think like doom and gloom, I've had to lower my opener, like my whole meet's over, because I've already framed it to you 3 days ago that we have options here to move based on how things are moving on the day. All we're doing is exercising that option.
Yeah.
It's already, it's pre-programmed into you that that's an okay thing and that it's not day over because you're moving like shit when you're warming up. Yeah. So I think that that's a very, very good benefit for it as well. And I think, dude, to be honest, man, based on what I see a lot of the time, people should change their openers more often.
Yes. But this is the thing, like people come in with this grandiose plan of going, oh, well, I'm going to open here and take here for a second, go here for a third. But as you said, like if they're warming up and things aren't moving the way that they should be in the warm-up room, there's absolutely no issue going, hey, you know what? I'm going to drop my opener by 10 kilos. Because you would rather drop it by 10 kilos and be 10 kilos. Yeah. Then go, oh shit. Because if you get to your third squat and you're like, I haven't made an attempt yet, the amount of pressure riding on you, like especially at like a comp where you've been prepping for months and months and months, countless amounts of hours put into training to prepare for this, countless amounts of hours, you know, training, prepping, recovering, all that sort of shit to facilitate an objective. and then you go do something stupid like, oh, I didn't hit depth or I got pinned by a weight that should have been a warm-up. It's like, cool. You would have been better off dropping your opener by 20 kilos, trying to make those 20 kilos up somewhere else in the day, than just going, you know what, I'm too proud to drop my shit down, or and then going, well, like, fuck now, like, what do I do?
Yeah, or even just like, even if you're like, oh, I think I can scrape through, if it's going to be a scrape, that's not an opener. So I would take the route of dropping the opener to something that you know you can hit today, and maybe just taking a bigger jump. Like, add 5 kilos to each of your jumps. Like, if you think you can make it, but it's going to be a scrape, take 20 kilos off your opener, add 5 kilos to each of your jumps, and you'll probably be ending up in a similar position for your third attempts.
Yeah.
But at least you've got something on the board to fall back on.
Yeah. Like, again, a 15 kilo lighter opener is still better than missing all 3 and bombing.
100%. So, yeah, that's something that I definitely think should be utilized more often. And that also comes back to knowing the rules and knowing when you can change it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just go in there and they're like, oh, I've given my openers when I weighed in, so it's feeling like shit. I guess I just have to roll the dice. I'm like, you can change it if you want.
Yeah.
You just have to do it at the right time. Do you have anything else to add on that?
Nah, man, I think we've pretty much covered all I really need to cover as part of that sort of question.
Yeah, it was a sick question, though. If anyone else has questions that they want us to cover in terms of like technical aspects of a lift or of powerlifting in general or strength training in general, or anything sport specific, even like programming stuff, just DM either of us, both of us, and we'll try and work it in, because we're always looking to provide this is an opportunity for us to provide as much possible value as we can without a word limiter, or a time frame. We can literally just talk until we get the point across. So if there's something that you've seen on Instagram or you've seen and you have a few questions about it and you feel like it can probably take up a little bit more than 30-second reel, just DM us and we'll talk about it for 3 hours.
That's on a quiet day.
You'll either understand it really well or you'll be confused as fuck by the end of it. But either way, it'll be a good time.
Exactly.
All right, man. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's a really good place to end it.
Yep.
And we can pick it up tomorrow morning with our guest.
Amazing.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Ben. Talk soon.
Thanks, Matt. Enjoy.